And here we go. We are back for day 2 of the Mobile Esports Career Expo. Thank you so much for joining us again. I hope each of you were also able to catch day 1. We had an incredible day. We ended up starting off this expo with 5 panels that were all stacked with panelists that are complete experts in their field in the mobile esports industry. And we are on a roll right now. So we're going to finish up this event with 3 expo panels. And then we're also going to have the second half of the day for a career fair. So we're actually going to be inviting a lot of people over to our Discord server to be able to network and interact with the 50 plus partners that we have lined up as well. Just kind of help build some connections and get people maybe placed in some positions so that they can help turn this into a career for themselves, because that's what this expo is all about. We want to make sure that we can bring as much knowledge and information to the public as possible with all of these experts that have been so generous to give us their time and their expertise on these panels, and then also be able to build connections and build bridges with people within the mobile esports industry, because you know what? I think this industry could use a little bit more of that. So we're off to a great start already. So what we're going to be doing today, if we could maybe pull up a bit of a schedule for today's panels, we have quite a showing actually. So we're actually going to start off with one of the hottest topics in the esports industry as a whole, which is sponsorships. We got a panel specifically for educating you on what sponsorships are, what things are important, and also hopefully some great insights to help you land some yourself if you're in that position. Also going to be covering partnerships, because that's another really important area of the esports industry, and bringing partners together in ways that really make sense. So being able to share that advice for us on the partnerships and sponsorships panel is Buffaretti from AMG, one of the, honestly, like one of the brightest people that I've met as far as partnerships and sponsorships go. We also have Amanda joining us from AMG, and who is better to serve on this panel than her? She's the head of talent at AMG, the premier mobile esports talent agency. We also have Chris from Mobile Gaming Core, who obviously has been doing a lot of great work on the sponsorship side in the mobile esports industry at a grassroots level, getting a lot of people in as brand ambassadors, and a lot of excitement and events as well, going as a sponsor of those events. And then finishing off this panel is Kingdom, or Anthony from G Fuel. And who knows sponsorships better than G Fuel? So I think we're going to start off pretty strong. Like, I feel like we say this for every panel, but this may be the most stacked panel that we have, but we literally say that for every panel, and that's kind of the way that we hope this would be. So I'm really, really excited for this one, and can't wait to tune in and take some notes myself. Next on is our event production panel. So events are obviously at the heart of esports. That's what this industry is all about. So being able to really understand what goes on behind the scenes at online events, at live events, all the different moving pieces, all the different things that are important with building a community around your community series. And then also maybe talking about some third-party events and some tools that can help you run events more smoothly and easily, because thankfully now in the mobile esports industry, we're also seeing a lot more innovation in tech. So we've got some great panelists on board for this as well. We have Jack, who is the CEO of Geyser, one of the premier mobile esports tournament platforms, to be able to help share some insights there. We have Swede Generis from GameGether, somebody who has run a lot of grassroots events in the past, and obviously stays really up to date on the scene as well. We have Kima from Hammers Esports, one of my good buddies, a partner that I ran a event series with, actually the Mobile Gaming Monday series through the TCL Chinese Theater in Hollywood. We had some great conversations around that series, and he especially also has a nice community-driven focus with his perspective. So I can't wait for him to be able to share some of that. And then we have, again, joining us on his second panel of the day will be Chris from Mobile Gaming Core. And again, you know, as one of these companies that really is bringing to life so many of these grassroots events, it's great to have, you know, his perspective, and especially as a sponsor on this panel, because that is such a big, revenue stream for events, quite frankly. So that's going to be quite a panel, really taking things on from all different angles, from the tech side, sponsorship side, event operations side, community side. Another one that may be our most stacked panel yet. Okay. And then finishing off is one of my favorite topics. It's the future of mobile esports. And we have obviously a lot of things in the horizon of the near future for mobile esports. We've got a couple really big games dropping later this year: Wild Rift, Apex Legends Mobile, a couple others that are teased. We have Pokemon Unite coming out as well, so for all you Pokemon fans out there. But beyond that, we have even more growth as an industry that is really proving that there's something special going on here. and it's going to be around for a long time. So can't wait to dive into some of the hot topics in the Future of Mobile Esports panel. I'll be really fortunate enough to be able to join as a panelist on that one, alongside Sui Generis from GameGather, Super Soro, CEO of Cream Royale Betis, who of course is an organization that really came from mobile, but also has had really accelerated growth as of late by partnering with a football club in order to have a lot of synergy in their esports operations. So that's a very futuristic structure for an esports organization. I can't wait to hear from him as far as that's concerned, especially. And then we also have Joao Borges joining us from INTZ. For those of you that were tuning in yesterday, you caught him on the Positioning Yourself in a New Mobile Esport panel. And he's going to be joining us back again for the future as well. And someone that just has a ton of insights. He's been able to bring his organization into, I believe, 6 mobile esports titles right now, and also shares a really unique insight on the ground in Free Fire in Brazil as a region, which of course is just astronomical in what they're doing. So really well-rounded panel. That might be our most stacked panel of the series, but that's what you sign up for when you tune into Mobile Esports Career Expo, okay? And I just am so happy that each of these guests are able to share their time with us to be able to get some information out there and really just kind of spark, some more growth for this industry, because, that is really what this needs. I'll say also as a final thought here is that this is a no budget event. This is purely put on by volunteers and people just doing this to help grow the scene, and it's just been absolutely incredible as far as the response that we've gotten. We've been able to reach out to tons of companies, been able to get commitments from 50 plus to be able to come in and be part of our Discord server, and of course have these 8 incredible panels that are just stacked. So this has been an absolute pleasure. After the first day finished last night, we were all just so happy with how it went, and we can't wait to dive into day 2 here. But fingers crossed that we get to do more of these as well. But first things first is we have a amazing lineup for you today. And I want to also bring in our extremely talented and versatile moderator, who is also our production side and just general utility tool, Legacy. Welcome back, my friend. I can't wait to get the second day started.
Yes, super excited to be back from for day 2. Day 1 was phenomenal, like you said, and I know we're going to say this a lot. The panels were stacked. Today, the panels are stacked. So much valuable information given away yesterday. I hope people go back and watch the VOD, because there was so much great information thrown at you at once. Take your notes, and it's the same thing for today. Like, there's a lot of great speakers on these panels today. Me personally, I'm excited for the future. But I think a lot of people are looking forward to the first 2, because that's where they learn new things. So what kind of key takeaways did you have from yesterday? Like, what was like your biggest thing?
My biggest thing was just how helpful all the advice was, because we tried to structure it in a way that really set the stage. So we started off with career paths, where we're able to really identify what all the career options are, right? Because a lot of people just see being a player or being a coach as having a career in mobile esports, but there's so much going on behind the scenes and on the business side of the industry that you can still find a path for yourself. And that to me is really motivating, because once people start to realize that, hey, I actually can have a career in mobile esports and it's growing, I think that motivation really starts, getting them more involved and more active in growing the scene as well. And, trying to find their own path. So I was really, really happy about that panel. But really, I mean, all of them were great. I loved also actually the content creator panel. I like Ash as well, is just somebody that has a wealth of information for being a content creator. And obviously, like, he's learned himself, but then also has taken on like a real mentorship role with a lot of content creators as well. And obviously with AMG and the incredible advice that they're able to offer to, players and creators is, it's obvious now what the impact is that Ash is making. And I liked actually Sakumai's comment about avoiding burnout. Because that is like such a real thing in this industry. Everybody works so hard. It's not a 9 to 5. It is almost like a 24/7 job, but it's really fun and it's really rewarding. But yeah, she's right. You have to really take time for yourself, or else you'll burn out. So
yeah, I think Ash brought a lot of the metrics side of things as well, and I think that's stuff that like more advanced YouTubers were loving to hear. Whereas also we broke it down to the basic fundamentals, and I like the way that you staged the panels. Literally from the start, each panel builds on the next panel, so you can literally get a full experience of how to immerse yourself into mobile esports from these 2 days if you watch it from start to finish.
Yeah, absolutely. And then obviously today we're able to really dive into some of the big crucial topics of this industry and like these really high level macro things, right? Like sponsorships is one of these things that is just all throughout the industry because it fuels so much of, the companies in the scene, right? It's like one of the primary revenue streams for any company that wants to operate because this is kind of like a digital, marketing industry of sorts. So, it's going to be really relevant for you, I think, no matter what path you're taking. And that's actually one of the really nice things that I saw as a takeaway from yesterday as well is that, the advice that's being given out at this expo is not just so specific that it only matters to you if you're like in a sponsorship sales role, because like as a player, even if you're watching the sponsorships panel, you got to be thinking in the back of your head, like, oh, so these are the people I'm representing. Like, oh, this is what matters to them, because because otherwise, if you just go out to Twitter with like a loose cannon type of thing and like say whatever you want, like that, you're not gonna have a career in mobile esports, perhaps, So you got to be able to kind of understand everything, and there's so much overlap and crossover that all of these concepts are relevant and can be applied to you no matter where you are.
Absolutely. And I think that was also something they talked about yesterday was the social media aspect of it. Like you said, whether you're you're a pro player or a content creator, a lot of these aspects carry on to the next panel and next genre of what you want to do. So I'm really, really excited for today. I think the sponsorship one's going to provide a lot of value, especially for like maybe newer orgs coming in, grassroots tournament organizers, trying to build a name for themselves. I think there's going to be a wealth of information, especially with the stacked panels that we have. So,
what was actually really cool? I was going to mention this is after yesterday's expo, we ended up having a meet and greet, which we just put it on the calendar or the schedule. As just like it'll be good for people to talk and interact and stuff. And like, we didn't really know what to expect because it was so unstructured. And we ended up having like a third of the viewership come over to the Discord server and just like hang out in voice call and just like chat for a while. And it was really cool. So
yeah, that's definitely cool.
Yeah. So I definitely hope that we do that as well. For those of you that aren't in our Discord server yet, make sure that you do that. The link is in the description. And then you can also check us out on Twitter at Mobile Esports CE for Mobile Esports Career Expo. And we obviously have all the links to our server and graphics for our panels and all of that stuff at your disposal there. So that's also probably the best place or the two best places to keep up to date in case there are future panels. So definitely get plugged in. The Discord server, again, is also fully open to you to use to network and just meet people or ask questions or talk with companies. Because again, like we have a lot of companies that just set up a general text channel for their company in the server as just like a way to meet people, right? So what a great opportunity for anybody to just kind of hop in and start building some connections.
I love that's the best part about this is we're making it easy for people to network, but everyone that's involved with this is also so accessible for anyone trying to ask questions. So, and then we also have the career fair later today, right?
We do, and this is actually going to be something that is a first that I've seen. I've never seen anything like it before, but this is actually going to be basically like an online version of like career fair, basically, where you're able to go to different stations and talk with companies, meet with them personally. Some are going to be running activities, basically. So we have like a circuit. So each company has a station for 25 minutes. And there's going to be 6 different sessions, basically. There can be multiple companies running in each session, so you get to choose who you want to attend for that, and then you can switch, go to the next one, kind of hang out a little bit more, and then go to the next one. But basically, the point of this is that the companies themselves have been able to set up an activity for people to do, or some of them have like a new product that they're releasing that could be of use to someone in the mobile sports industry, depending on what they want to do. Maybe you want to run a community series, and there's a tournament, or there's a company that's like a tournament operations or tools company, and they can show you the new features. We got one like that in the server, so check it out if that's you. But that's kind of how we have this set up. Some may be interviewing for open positions at their company. Some may be just kind of having a meet and greet, again, just to kind of get to know people a little bit more. And so that is going to be really fun. That is going to be the second half of today's activities for the expo. And that's going to be taking place in our Discord server as well. So definitely check that out. It ought to be really fun. And we got, again, some really nice companies lined up for that as well.
Another thing I'd like to say, if you guys are watching or if you're in the Discord, yesterday we had a cool watch party in the Discord. Feel free to send us any questions that you want us to ask,
Yes.
whether they're just general topics or specific topics for the guests. We definitely would love to get that, because that's how we can also help provide value to you guys watching.
Yeah, and that's again one of the things I love most, and I was really happy to, take some of the personal questions in my little keynote session or whatever yesterday. But again, this is like all being put on for you as a viewer to make sure that you can get something out of this. So by all means, please ask your questions. If we aren't able to get to them on the stream, feel free to ask them again afterwards, because we'll all be in the server and we're happy to just take some time. But we're doing this for you, so definitely want to make sure that everybody that is going through something and is looking for information can have a chance to get that.
Yeah, I'm super excited for today. It's going to be shorter today, but I feel like just because it's shorter doesn't mean there's not as much detailed and valuable information. So maybe afterwards I'll swing by into the career fair as well, and just kind of do meet and greet.
I'll see you there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is going to be fun, man. We got, like you said, 3 panels versus 5 yesterday. But again, we have the career fair in the second half. And the panels are getting more and more impactful as we go on to, and like higher level stuff. So this is going to be a blast today. I cannot wait.
Absolutely. I think the sponsorships panel is exciting. I think the future is going to be very interesting to see what people's perspectives are, because mobile is global, and that's the one thing that I think is really exciting about it. And we have like a global panel as well for that, so I'm really excited to see the different regional perspectives on mobile, specifically from the last 5 years to the future. So I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that too, because that was something that all of us behind the Mobile Esports Career Expo really wanted to make a point of, is that we really try to represent as many parts of the world and many types of people as possible with this expo, because the reality is that mobile gaming is a global phenomenon, and it is important to find people that are going through all these similar things in different regions to be able to share their experiences and share their expertise, right? And there's also not enough of that, unfortunately. Just the regions seem to be a little bit more siloed or disconnected, and obviously there's language barriers and lots of things that go into that. But series like this, I think, have a really excellent opportunity to set the stage for what mobile esports is going to be like in the future. And hopefully that is one that is very inclusive and very globalized and very equal. And I'm really happy. I think we did a great job of that, and we'll continue to look to improve and make sure we can get people from all different backgrounds in future expos as well.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful thing, that mobile is global. We also have pretty diversified panels as well. We talked about it yesterday, and in that panel we were talking about it, there was literally every different kind of person that you would want on that panel. So it was pretty cool to see that.
Yeah, but that goes to show that there are just experts all around the world in their respective fields in mobile esports. So leave it to us to try to find them and connect with them, right? And then you can just kind of relax, sit back, and listen to their expertise, and then hop into the Discord server and connect with them personally. So there you go.
Yes, that's what I love about the accessibility. It's great.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Just kind of looking at the chat here, just seeing if anyone has any questions for us before we get into our first panel.
I will say that while you're looking at those questions, I was also really impressed by just how much the mobile esports community really rallied around this series yesterday. Like, we had all different types of people in chat, just kind of talking and like listening. I remember JoJo was streaming yesterday, and he was like, "Man, this is great. I'm like taking notes," and he's like crushing it right now himself with his personal brand. So it's cool that he, is doing that. We had Bobby Plays and in the chat, and like obviously a lot of people that were panelists as well stuck around and talk to people. So it was really, really cool.
Yeah, there was Kang from Razer was in there. So
yes,
that's really cool. So I mean, a lot of great eyes on this. Whether you're a new person or a veteran in the industry, like you always got to keep learning. That's what I think is super important. Always keep educating yourself to continue to move forward in your path. And I think that's very, very important.
I could not agree more. And this is just an industry that moves so quickly as well. You can't keep your feet still, or else the industry's just going to pass you by. So hopefully we can get more and more of these things, because we got to definitely ramp things up as this industry grows.
Yep.
So we're getting some panelists hopping in. Should we just kind of hop over into the panel call, and we'll just kind of, that's what I love about an event like this too, dude, is that like we can just kind of take this very naturally, and it's just like a fireside chat or like a table, round table discussion and stuff. So let's do it. Let's go hop in. I think we got some people coming.
All right.
Here we go. Let's do this. Welcome, everybody.
Hello.
Good looking camera feeds.
Oh, hello.
Awesome.
Hey guys.
How is it going, everybody? So welcome to the panel.
Hey, gang.
Thank you. I'm excited to be a part of the most stacked panel that there is this weekend.
It is true. It is true, though. So.
I mean, Chris gets to be in two of the most stacked ones, so.
Yeah, thanks for including me in this one, man. Like, this is one I think I can hopefully lend a lot of expertise to, and it's just great to be a part of this whole event. So thank you guys.
Yeah,
absolutely. Matt, do you just want to start, or?
Yeah, obviously we are, this is a series where people can just kind of join freely as soon as they're available, and it's okay if panelists need to leave a little early at the ends of the call. So we like to keep it just flexible and free flowing and stuff, because you know what, mobile's a little bit more casual too, and it's flexible. So looks like we do have our panelist Amanda from AMG, and obviously she's somebody that is head of talent for AMG, and so super happy to have her here. Now that everybody's here, I'm gonna actually hop out and let you get to it, but I can't wait to take notes on this one.
Lucky.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, thanks, man.
All right, guys, so welcome to day 2. This is the first panel. I think this is probably one of the most important panels that people in the mobile industry are looking forward to. So go ahead and introduce yourself. We'll start in the top left. And introduce yourself. Tell the community what you do in esports, and specifically for mobile if you can. And then we'll just go around like a little round table. So we'll start with Anthony in the top left.
All right. Hello. First of all, thank you for having me here. I was grinding COD Mobile last night, the BR, and I was in the background catching up on the 4 hours that I missed yesterday. And I was taking notes myself. Like it's amazing how you guys have gathered people from every spectrum of mobile gaming all together. And so for me, I represent G Fuel Energy. I'm a partnerships manager there. It's awesome to be in this call because I've never met Chris, but we've talked on Twitter, and me and Amanda have talked a million times, and it's cool to be on something with her. And my job basically is to manage influencers' relationship with G Fuel. And I started with mobile when I got hired at G Fuel, and since then I've partnered with a lot of mobile gamers. And so I want to see mobile grow and get the same level of exposure as PC, console, and everything else. And so I'm just really excited to be a part of this conference and this weekend. And hopefully I say something today that somebody can take away and help them.
Awesome. That's great. I love that you took G Fuel and like specifically catered towards the mobile demographic. So that's amazing to see. We'll go to Buffaretti next in the top right.
Hey, I'm Buffaretti, Miguel. I'm a senior marketing manager for AMG. I've been doing mobile gaming since my son was born. It's the only type of gaming existed for me. So I don't call it mobile gaming anymore. I just call it gaming because it's all I got, right? Very excited to be here. I've leveraged relationships as a creator, but I've also worked with some partnerships now from the AMG side. So I've been able to see both sides of the fence on this topic, and very excited of what the future holds for us.
Awesome, amazing. Congratulations on just going straight to mobile and not mobile gaming anymore. And now we got Amanda in the bottom right. Hello.
Awesome. Hi. Yeah, super excited to be here. I work with Chris extensively. Obviously, Buffaretti and I work together, so we talk all the time. And I finally get to be on something with Anthony. I've been trying to wrangle him into a few different things, so very excited to be here with all of these incredible people. I am head of talent and sales over at Aftershock Media Group. And yeah, I kind of echo what Buffaretti says. To me, it's just gaming, but I know we actually quite specifically specialize in mobile. So it's really cool to think of it in just a broad term of gaming.
Awesome. And last but not least, Chris, say what's up.
Hey guys, once again, thanks for having me. My name is Chris. I'm president of MGC, or Mobile Gaming Core, and we are, or certainly seek to be, the premier provider of mobile gaming gear, accessories, really in the world. And Buffaretti, I feel that when you say that mobile is the only thing you can play. I have a 2-year-old, so the luxury of sitting down with my PS4 and grinding is practically non-existent.
It's not there anymore.
But thanks to games like PUBG and COD, the satisfaction is not diminished in the slightest, and it's only going to get greater as we see, these new titles are coming out this year and beyond. xCloud that is basically going to put Xbox on your phone. Mobile is the future, and I'm kind of amazed that we were able to form a brand, when there really wasn't any serving the mobile market. So that's something that we're proud of, and something that we're really looking to hold that top spot at. So honored to be here, and thanks for having me.
All right. I appreciate everybody being on this first panel here. I think we'll just start off with like just a general question. I think I get this a lot. The confusion between like what a partnership is and versus like sponsorships, like the different types of sponsorships. So if you can kind of educate the audience on like what those are, and kind of like the detailed working factors when you're looking to reach out to someone for one of those. And we'll just do it open, so whoever wants to go first can chime in first.
Cool, I'll go. I think it's there's a bit of interpretation to that. To be honest, I actually get asked that all the time by different content creators and industry professionals. What I believe a sponsorship to be is X, Y, and Z company saying, hey, Bufferetti, we'd love to sponsor your next YouTube video. Please promote our product, blank. That's a sponsorship. Whereas Anthony goes, hey, Bufferetti, G Fuel wants to partner with you. We're going to do a 3 to 6 month partnership, and then those details. So that's kind of how I see it. Yeah.
I agree. And this is a hard question, because I would lie if I didn't say that I consider everybody that works with me a partnership. And that's the language that I use. That's the way I want them to feel. That's the way I approach it, is that we're partnering. It's not a win and lose ever. It's always for a win-win. And so it's difficult because some partnerships don't get made because both of us can't win. And if the influencer can't win and G Fuel can, I'm not going to then just take advantage of the influencer. It's a partnership. And so that's why mobile is so great right now, is because what we're doing is G Fuel is partnering with mobile gamers, with mobile orgs, not just to grow and expand G Fuel, but to grow mobile. And so for me, it's all a partnership.
Yeah, I love it. Beautiful answer, especially since you specifically came in just to expand mobile, and you're giving all the mobile players, professionals, orgs opportunity to also grow their organization and grow their brand as well. So that's amazing to see. One of the other things I think the most common question I've gotten in like my DMs for this is, how does someone approach a business or a brand professionally for a sponsorship or partnership, or should it be the other way around? If you're that talented, do they come and approach you? I think I get that a lot. And it looks like Bufferetti wants to get into this one. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I want to say, because I've done both. I've been approached by companies. That's usually the easiest, right? Because they already identified you and you have something they want, and you can form that partnership. But when I was starting, I had no cool gear, no nothing, and I wanted so bad to get a sponsorship from Elgato. So I reached out to them, and I went with the mentality of, what's the worst that can happen? Well, no, or they ignore you, and that was it. And that worked for me. And then I kept doing that time after time, but not sending blanket statements, but people that I really wanted to work with, and explain to them on an email, hey, listen, I think what you have can work for me, because I need it for this, and this is what I can give you in return. So I would lay out very specific cases. And I remember the Elgato particularly, because my channel was very, very small. And I said, I get this amount of views once a month. Like, I can give you this X views over the next 6 months in exchange for this product. And in my case, it worked out. So again, it's harder when you have to reach out versus when they reach out to you. But I've done both, and both work.
Oh, that's awesome. I like how you put in there like, hey, this is what I can do for you. So you're giving them the value, like, hey, I may be small, but here's my traction and growth. Did anyone else want to touch on that?
Yeah.
I just wanted to add. Oh, sorry, Chris. No, go ahead.
No, go. Finish your thought, Amanda.
I was just going to give Bufferetti many compliments, because I think he's an incredible example of how to go about reaching out to companies when he first signed on. So he first signed on with AMG as a content creator first, and then later joined the team. He was like, these are the companies I hit up. This is what I do. This is how I do it. This is, these are the results. And I'm like, that's incredible. And I actually recommend sometimes, it's my job to reach out to brands, but a lot of the times now I'll recommend a content creator do that themselves because it seems to, bring across that authenticity instead of, some no-name manager who's just like, hey, my client wants, something. So go ahead, Chris. I just wanted to give kudos to Bufferetti.
I was going to say it's really on both sides of value proposition because, for a company like ours that, really was kind of coming out in January of 2019, nobody knew who we were. We had some prototypes. We just wanted to get them in the hands of the right people that would look at them really objectively and frankly harshly. We wanted them kind of put through the grinder, and so we needed to reach out to the top people in mobile gaming. And so it was us that was, and actually me specifically, that was sending emails to guys like to Ducky, to Powerbang, and just hoping that we could get something going. But at that time, the value proposition was not only introducing who we were, what we're about, what we're trying to do, but also, what we can do for them. So in some instances, it was simply, we're going to give you a prototype for an iPhone XS, and we're going to give you an iPhone XS. We're going to give you everything you need to test it out. And I was like, okay, cool. They're going to give me a phone, and that was enough to get their attention. In addition to, first and foremost, selling them on the vision of what the product is and what our brand is. And we've gotten to the point now where we have people approaching us. And which is fantastic. It's an honor anytime somebody approaches us and say, hey, how do I get integrated with your brand? Or but in terms of that, going back to the value proposition, and it was touched on a lot during some of yesterday's panels as well, is that don't just send me a DM saying, how do I get sponsored? Because unless you're known, like if I get that, from somebody that's already big, like if Ferg sends me that, you know what I mean, like it's without question. But most of the time it's smaller streamers, and we sponsor a lot of smaller streamers, but we need to know, we need to look at your socials, we need to look at your content, we need to know what your vibe is, does it mesh with our brand? And we're looking for a range of personalities. So as long as you're authentic, as long as you come across just kind of unabashedly yourself, that's what we want to see most. And then secondarily also, do you really like our gear? So if somebody approaches us, big or small, one of the first things I do is I send them some stuff. It's like, here, try it out. If you're not familiar with our gear, try it out. And if you love it, then fantastic, we can keep talking. If not, totally cool. If it doesn't work for your game, I'm totally cool with that. But we're looking for people that can really have a holistic relationship with us, because Kingdom, to your point, we want people, this isn't about like, hey, will you make one video reviewing this? It's about finding people that we love and they love us, and they want to be with us for the long term. And that goes for all levels of our partnerships.
Oh, absolutely. I like how you bring up like the metric side of things too. How you started off Grassroots to now you have people approaching you. And I kind of wanted to bring that to Kingdom because he does the long-term partnerships as well. And I kind of want to know what kind of KPIs, like what makes a successful partnership over the long run to you, in your opinion? And what
okay,
yeah, go ahead.
Definitely want to go into that answer. But before I do, the only thing I would add to that whole conversation about reaching out, and I want to make sure I speak clearly.
Oh,
think about getting a manager, please. I just want to add that. There are a lot of people in mobile gaming that have reached out to me in blind DMs on Twitter, YouTube comments, however they can. Amanda can attest to the fact that most of the people that get quick responses, if their manager reaches out to me that I've worked with already, it's a bonus. It doesn't mean they're going to get signed. It doesn't mean they're going to get a deal or anything. It just means there's probably going to be a conversation at least, and I'm going to look at them. There is no right way, in my opinion, to bridge a partnership. It sometimes happens, like Chris said, where you reach out to an influencer that's large and you want them to engage with your product. But it always has to be organic, in my opinion. Even with G Fuel, if someone doesn't like the product, there's no point in doing a partnership. I don't care how large their channel is. It's going to feel like it's inauthentic. And the generation of people watching YouTube videos right now, they can smell like inauthenticity, I guess. All right. So KPIs. I actually jotted down some because I would end up talking for probably 40 minutes if I didn't.
Just for people that don't know what a KPI is, can you kind of explain that?
Key performance indicator. So basically, it's like when I'm looking at the hundreds of people that are reaching out to me trying to get partnered or sponsored from every level. It could be a small influencer. And if you look at the range of partnerships G Fuel's done in mobile, we've gone from some of the smallest influencers and creators all the way to the largest org there is in mobile right now. And so I would say that for me, key performance indicators that I look for if I'm looking to partner with someone is number one is engagement. And I always say that that's number one. I'm going to watch your stream. I'm going to watch your content. I'm going to look at your Twitter feed and see how you engage with the people that are your followers. I'm going to see how you engage with your sponsors. That's a huge key performance indicator is how do you engage with sponsors you already have? If you don't have a sponsor, it's kind of hard for me to figure out how you would engage with us. If you do have a sponsor, but you never talk about them ever, and when you do, it's forced and I can feel that, then that kind of gives me a feeling of how you might represent G Fuel and our brand. And so another one would be social presence, just in general. How does it feel to be around you in the social atmosphere on your Instagram, on your Twitter? Something that I always try to tell people is that your Twitter is a living portfolio for you. And it's sad how many people miss opportunities that they don't even know they missed because their Twitter account or their feed had something on it that was a red flag for a sponsor. And it made them go, nah, there's millions. Just think about it. There's millions of influencers. You got to separate yourself from everybody else. And that's what gets noticed and that's what gets seen. Size and growth are important. They are a performance indicator, period. Chris said it a minute ago. If Ferg reaches out versus a much smaller influencer, there's a thing that goes off in my head that says footprint. It's like flashing in my head, like social footprint, YouTube views, millions. And so it's going off in my head as someone who is in basically marketing. It goes off in my head that this person has a large social footprint. I want to engage them. If they're reaching out and saying, I love G Fuel, I want to represent G Fuel. It's an easy turn. The other two that I'll say is game trend matters and historical data. A lot of people sometimes don't like once they start getting in conversation with G Fuel. And I say, well, the historical data of your channel, of your content, I don't know if a partnership is possible. I don't know if that trend is going to continue for growth. And then the game trend matters as well. Games rise and fall before we even can get to play them for the most part, especially for those of us that are mobile gamers. We see games on PS4 and we're like, hey, I'm going to play that one day. And before we get to play it, it becomes obsolete. It doesn't matter anymore. And so mobile is the same. You've seen the slew of COD mobile creators that are running COD mobile content right now. They're most of them from ROS. Yep. And so they had to make a leap. But you see someone like maybe Metalcore who leaped over to PUBG Mobile rather than COD Mobile. And so that success, you have to see, is somebody going to be able to carry that success beyond one game if they're a variety person? And so those would be my key performance indicators when I'm looking to engage someone. And the one thing that I'll say for those of you that have been in my DMs is that we as a company aren't looking to sign every influencer in every game. Just because someone could sell G Fuel doesn't mean we're going to partner with them. True. It's like if Nike partnered with every single NBA player and gave them their own shoe. Of course, they're going to sell more Nikes, but that's not their goal. Their goal is to partner with people that make sense for their brand, for the market that they want to expand into. And mobile is somewhere that G Fuel wants to expand into right now. But we're not going to sign every single mobile content creator because they're good and they make good content. So it is a selective process. get yourself noticed, stand out, make partnerships, talk to AMG. This is not a plug. This is not an ad. But find yourself a manager. I work with managers because mobile is not my only, that's half of my accounts that I manage. I have Call of Duty, Fortnite, all that kind of stuff, teams and orgs and everything else. And so mobile is a part, but it is my heart. So
Absolutely. I love that. Go ahead, Chris.
If I could, yeah. So as somebody, as our brand that is just wholly endemic to mobile gaming, G Fuel covers all of gaming, how they could branch into sports. G Fuel can do whatever they want at this point, basically, but for MGC, we really look for representatives within these subset of gaming communities within mobile. So, we want to have our main guy or girl, so to speak, in PUBG Mobile, in Fortnite Mobile, in COD. We want people lined up, perhaps that were known in Vainglory, that are ready when Wild Rift comes out. So that's actually a piece of advice for a lot of content creators. Like, even if and I think a lot of them, like if they're a MOBA person, they're just waiting with clenched fists for Wild Rift or maybe even Pokemon Unite. But take that once you move into that game, then just know that if you've already got a bit of an audience, you can approach brands and say, hey, particularly if you know what they're looking for, like, hey, I'm grinding Wild Rift, and I was a top player in Vainglory. Kind of position yourself as being the guy that's going to bust out, and that kind of bumps you up, as opposed to having another person from a title. Like we have a lot of PUBG Mobile creators. That's where we want to be because it's the biggest game in the world. But to your point, Kingdom, we are mindful. We're getting to the point now. Is like, if another PUBG Mobile creator hits us up and it's not somebody that we know or has a personality difference, or a kind of, if what they bring doesn't add a piece to our PUBGM overall footprint, it makes it a lot harder to say, even if their content is great. It's like, we don't want to be spread too thin.
Yeah, because if it doesn't fit your brand, it's not going to benefit you. I like how you guys both touched on that. And I think AMG, actually, I know you had mentioned this, Anthony, about talk to AMG. And I kind of want to give you guys a chance to actually really talk about what your role is in the mobile community. So if Bufferetti or Amanda want to go ahead and really explain to us, because you guys are our partner for this event.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would be so bold as to say that we are the only mobile focused talent management and advertising agency. There are mobile esports orgs. Yeah, Anthony, I see you agree. It's true. We are. It's a small network, so that's not not terribly boastful, but it's true. About a year ago, my partners and I identified a need in the market. At first, we weren't planning on going this route, but we're like, wait, nobody represents these mobile guys. There are some mobile people at different orgs and different agencies, but almost everyone's just kind of like riding solo, not really knowing what to do. And we just found such a gap in the market. So we've been around for over a year now. And that's like very plain and simple where we stand. That we're one of the only management companies that represent mobile content creators.
See, that's great because both you and Chris found a need for something, and you created something, and now you have your footprint. And like Kingdom was saying, you've got to create your footprint, and now you're the first. So you guys are the pioneers for that. So there will always be
We're working together.
Yeah, and now you're working together to even grow even more and expand. So that's a beautiful thing. Bufferetti, do you want to expand?
Yeah, I have a question for Anthony here. Anthony, when you do the emphasis on get a manager, is it because of the level of professionalism or like the level of polish they can get for you, or is it mostly because maybe connections or the ongoing deals, and how can you tackle yourself into those?
I'm gonna say D, all of the above. Honestly, you just gave off the list of why you need a manager. It benefits you. There isn't really a negative to it. When people think I'm gonna lose some money, well, the
idea isn't to lose money.
Yes.
No. I was just gonna. The idea is to lose money.
Yes. So you have to make an investment. You have to make an investment. In yourself, in your future, in your career. Some of the best even mobile content creators have hired editors, multiple hired editors for their different channels. I saw Bobby Plays, he created a Bobby Reacts channel and it started getting thousands and thousands of views. So then he tweeted out, I might have to get an editor for the Bobby Reacts channel, because he knows he can't keep up what's needed to maintain that. The professionalism that's needed, actually reading a contract and understanding it. I probably would benefit from people not having managers if you know, in a financial way, just to be honest. But I've engaged people in the community, not just mobile. And when I find out that they don't have a manager, I don't tell them go get one, because that's not my role. But I at least ask the question, because I don't want to get into a conversation where there's terms that they don't understand. And I just ask, like, hey, do you have a manager? If they're of size, that's like one of my biggest questions immediately. And so I think that management can represent you in a way you can't represent yourself. I've had managers, they may be in this call, mention to me and kind of champion the people that they represent. And that goes so far. It goes, I can't even undershadow how far that goes. And then I have a relationship with that manager. Anybody that manager has, they can expose to me, and then I can engage how I see fit, however. And I would just say everything you said, Boo Freddy, is why.
I'd love to also add to that. A big thing when I talk to content creators that don't have a manager or are looking to sign with us is, of course, we do take a percentage. Unfortunately, we cannot operate for free. AMG is at, I think, 15 employees now. So, like, you know, we have expenses, but the idea is to have us, you know, be your champion, but also advocate for more, so you don't actually feel a difference. If you're willing to take a deal, you know, for $800, if I can get that, you know, that brand up or someone up higher, I'm going to make sure you at least get that 800. Maybe I'll get you 1,000, maybe more. I never want a content creator to feel that difference. That's not the point. The point is that I'm specialized in what I do well enough to understand and be able to communicate your value.
Yeah, and I think it frees you up to focus on where your passion is and what you do best. You know, for whether it be managers, editors, it lets you just grind on and leverage your expertise. And then you've got these people looking out for you. You pick the right people that have your back, or have your best interest in mind ultimately, whether it be artistically or financially. You know, and ultimately it's a net benefit to the content creator.
Absolutely.
So what you guys are saying is you don't necessarily need a manager, but you need an Amanda. This is what I'm hearing in all of this conversation.
An Amandager.
I see what you did.
An Amandager.
I see what you did there.
That was a good one.
I like that. So you guys just heard it here first, and a manager is available if you guys are looking for one. I have a question from the chat here. Let me pull it up here. And you guys have already kind of elaborated on this. So the question, I'm gonna murder the username, so I'm not gonna say it, but it's from YouTube. And the question is, which mobile games have the highest scope in mobile esports? And I think that's pertaining to which ones do you guys focus on more when you're looking to build partnerships and sponsorships? And I think you guys already touched on that a little bit, but that was one of the questions from the chat.
When you mentioned, so let's get out there. Like, when we say mobile esports, are we kind of saying mobile gaming?
Yes.
Or do you, okay. So, because esports is a little bit there, it still is a word that can be synonymous with competitive gaming.
Correct.
And so if it was competitive gaming, I'm looking at PUBG Mobile and COD Mobile. But we recently partnered with Tribe, and so now we have, Brawl Stars and everything else in there as well. But I would say those two esports, of course, drive a huge level of interest because they're starting to transition over to North America. And as the Fergs of the world, the Hawksnests of the world, the Noahs of the world, the Bobbies of the world, the JoJos of the world, Matt Claps. I mean, all these people that are just coming out of, they're all on they're just growing. Winsanity, Hot Jukes, it's as they continue to provide content for North America, people just are coming out in droves. I mean, Ferg turns on BR, and then when I get in for the next 3 days, it's sweaty because there's more people playing. And so I'm like, dang it, Ferg, stick to ranked multiplayer. No, but but honestly, I would say those two for me are pretty big. My first look was when Sanity was like the first person I looked at when I started at G Fuel, because I was watching his content already, in PUBG Mobile. But then as we expanded and grew, we extended into other areas. But COD and PUBG, because they're first-person shooters, seem to be able to make the transition from those people that have always been true to console or PC. And they're starting to actually talk about it. People are still closet mobile gamers, but we're getting them to come out.
For us, we have to consider region, I guess, partially because of our current sales channels, but obviously a game like Free Fire that basically owns South America. We don't have any creators partnered in that area simply because our ability to sell in those regions is not as strong. And it's something that we certainly aspire to, because we know that our products can bring value to just all mobile gamers everywhere. And part of that is not necessarily that we can't, ship from our own 3PL to some of those countries. It's just that particularly with COVID, it's taking a lot longer. It just ultimately, we can't provide, really comes down to, we can't provide a satisfactory customer experience on the shipping side because packages don't show up or they take months. So until we can have that last leg of the entire journey at a level that we're happy with, and we know that the customers will be happy with, we unfortunately we don't want to provide that. But it is ultimately very much region based, like we would be in Arena of Valor or some of these games that are massive in China or South Korea. And we are expanding our footprint. And once we're there, we absolutely are going to bring not only our products, but our tournaments, which we'll touch on the next panel, because that's a really key part of our overall marketing strategy, is not only bringing the products, but an experience together to the customer. So region for us has a lot to do with it.
Oh, I like that, because the region specific, you did mention that some games are bigger in other regions. I mean, you got Free Fire, big. Brazil, massive 80 million plus daily users. You have Honor of Kings in Asia, blows Arena of Valor out of the water. And then in the NA side, it is PUBG. It is on the COD mobiles. So I think the region specific is very important for people to understand when they're getting into the game. Like, hey, what sponsors are in this game already? So I think that's something important to look at. Did anyone from AMG want to touch on that topic at all?
So it's a little tricky because our main focus is content. So if you're a pro player, but you don't stream and or make YouTube content, we can't really help you. I believe we have a few pros, but to be honest, that's not really our main area of focus. That's really more on the org that they're part of, that we kind of rely on to have that relationship with.
Okay. Bufretti?
No, I had a question mostly for the other people here.
Okay.
Yeah. How, and then given this constraint of the world, how do you identify what's going to be the next hot thing, and how do you anticipate it and get in there before it gets too crowded and inaccessible?
Like that.
I'm gonna let Chris go first on this one.
I mean, I think, I mean, that's a great question. I would lean on the genre. So I think Wild Rift is a good example. I mean, to say, not even mention the huge built-in base that League of Legends has. But if MOBA in mobile is already a well-established platform or genre. So we just know once Wild Rift drops, there's going to be a ton of attention. There's going to be a ton of heavy hitters that are going to be there day one, if not having already grinded the beta. So those ones are easy to see. It's if you get something kind of left field, although I think we're going to see less of those simply because there's so much migration from console or PC over to mobile, because they know, and companies at this point really want to know when they release a game, it's going to be a hit. So the safe bet is take a COD and port it over to a platform that they don't have a footprint in yet, because obviously it's going to blow up and be one of the biggest games in the world. So we're seeing a little bit less of that in terms of guessing what the next big hit is going to be and knowing. I think you see games like AF2 come out that gain in popularity and then they go away. It will be coming back, as far as I know, at some point, with the tweaks necessary to not offend Ubisoft. But those are the ones, I guess, where you sit back and you watch and you see who migrates towards it. But for us, we take chances on those. Like, we picked up a couple guys, like IMO. But there's a good example of a guy that, he went over to AF2, made a lot of AF2 content, so we knew any eyeballs that were on that game were on his content. But he's also just got such a big, bright personality that it almost doesn't matter what game he's playing. Like, I believe that he's going to be successful because of his approach, because of his content, because of his personality. So the smaller games can bring people, and sometimes it's not a matter of the game being what bubbles you up to the top. It's what gets you noticed, and then you kind of take over. And and if the company has confidence in who you are specifically, then you can form a relationship without really needing to worry about how long is this game going to be around. It's like, we don't worry, you're great at BR, you're great at TDM, so there's going to be another one. There's already some out there. If you jump over to a popular one, I'm confident, based on who you are, that you're going to get a foothold in it, or wait for the next big thing, and then you're going to be the top guy. So that's the approach that we've taken.
I would say that for G Fuel, we kind of want to live in, like, right now. I mean, you probably noticed that, like, we have new marketing every day. Like, there's something brand new. We have new flavors every month. We're always we're moving, and we make trends and follow trends. We're not ashamed of either of those. And so in my opinion, whether you're an influencer, content creator, manager, or Chris at MGC, I would say we just always want to be able to respond rather than react. Like, we'd rather have a prepared way. So, like, when Warzone came out, we noticed it popped within days. Immediately, we got kind of a directive, like, go look for Warzone people, and so, but we're armed with the ability to do that. We've been around long enough as a brand, and we have a footing to where when I reach out, some people are like, whoa, G Fuel's reaching out to me, and they respond. And the cool thing about G Fuel, and this is what I love, because I used to be sponsored by G Fuel myself when I made Call of Duty esports content back in the day. And the cool thing about G Fuel is there's so many people, even in mobile, that are in love with the brand already.
Mm-hmm.
They're fans of the brand. They use the product. They've always watched us and been a fan of us. And so the conversation is really easy when we do have it. It's really like, is this the right time? Is there a fit? The amount that you want? Can we do that? Is there kind of synonymous kind of win-win? And then how can we plan for the future? Some people want longer contracts than I want to give them and all that kind of stuff. And so I would say for us, when it comes to the game trends, we just try to make sure that if a game does pop off, that we're ready for it. So I have conversations about Wild Rift. I have conversations about Apex Legends. And so, but I haven't signed anybody thinking they're going to pop, because I'm trying to sell a product. So I don't want to sign them today if they can't sell it today.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm Chris and I'm, I'm trying to sell claw socks, then someone can mention them now and sell some. But then when they pop off and get bigger because they play Apex mobile, it's just going to be more exposure. And I do that as well. One of the reasons I've partnered with a lot of the people within the mobile gaming scene is because I see their potential, not necessarily where they are right now. And I see their game's potential. And so we do that, but we also want to be ready to respond and ready to be like, okay, how can I activate? I need to call Amanda. Do you have anybody that's in this game? So I think that's for us, how we just try to be there and always be a step ahead. But if we can't be a step ahead, we just want to be in step. We don't want to be behind at all. Like, we never want to be behind when it comes to gaming trends. You lose out, and you miss things. Hopefully that makes sense.
That makes sense. I love that you brought up the fact that people already love your brand. And in esports, we've seen major non-endemic sponsors start to come into, you have Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Mercedes, big car companies representing these big organizations and games as well. So what do you think the impact of non-endemic brands coming into the scene is, and how does it impact your approach to like a partnership?
Well, what I love to see personally, because I'm the only girl on this call, when I saw League of Legends team up with Louis Vuitton,
Hmm.
my little lights were like, oh my gosh, I need everything. And
They're
obviously
expensive.
I'm in game. Yeah, yeah. Still wanted everything. But for me, that just gets me more excited that a brand with a legacy, that something, someone like Louis Vuitton has, that is, they don't do sales. They're very protective of their origin. They're very, about travel, and just it's very interesting to see them team up. So to me, I'm excited to see what other brands are going to be entering the space, and who they're going to be partnering with. What other games are up for grabs, so to speak, to continue teaming up with. And I know that there are a lot of car brands looking to get into stuff as well. So to me, that's exciting.
Mhm. Is that something that, as like endemic, so you guys are endemic on the endemic side, is that something that you guys track too when you're looking at games and stuff as well for Kingdom and Chris?
Let's see. Well, in terms of these big non-endemic brands coming in, I mean, if it's kind of a lifts all boats kind of a thing. Like I think it's great if a Mercedes or a Louis is getting into gaming, because one, it helps the same people.
Hmm.
Like part of an affiliate program is like we, and particularly how I think we and Kingdom approach it. It's like Kingdom said, it's got to be a net benefit to all involved. We want it to be as mutual as possible. And so we as a brand are trying to give as much as we can. So if you've got these other big, juggernaut brands like a Mercedes coming in, they're doing that at a very high level for these gamers. And ultimately, assuming the goal is to continue to make this a career, and to make a good living at it, that's what those brands are able to do, oftentimes at a level that far surpasses what MGC can do, at least for the time being. Like we got big dreams and high aspirations, but it's going to take us time to build towards those really big kind of highly incentivized partnerships. But I think it's great because it elevates not only the gamers, but the visibility of
Hmm.
gaming, and how people outside of it are increasingly seeing it as a legitimate. It's not just something that kids do, on the weekends or something like that. Kind of the stigma that gaming's had for a long time. It's breaking out in a big way. So those brands play a large role in it. So it benefits everybody, really.
Um, Kang in the chat said non-endemic should be careful about inflating the space too
Hmm.
quickly.
I was waiting for someone to say that.
And in a way, I wanted to respond to it because I think, of course, that's always possible. I will say that when non-endemic sponsors come in, and basically that just means they're not born in gaming, in my opinion. G Fuel, we're a drink, we're a beverage, and eventually we'll hopefully be full retail. But it's like we're born out of gaming. It was a bunch of gamers that took time trying to create something for gamers, and so we're a gaming brand, and I think that what can happen and what I've seen happen is that there is an inflated value, and I'm gonna be careful how I say this, but there's an inflated value that influencers can have because a brand that has nothing to do with gaming comes in and says, I just need your viewership and your impressions. I don't need anything else. Here's as much money as you ask me for in order to do that, because I'm a multi-billion-dollar company and I can pay you whatever I need to pay you to make sure I'm in gaming. And so when an endemic brand tries to approach that same person, it's like, well, we don't have $1 billion. And we're not saying you're not as valuable as that company says, but to us, your value is different. There's people that their value to Chris is different than their value to me.
Hmm.
They may be extremely valuable to him,
Hmm.
even as an affiliate in his program. They may be one of his most successful people, but when it comes to G Fuel, there's just not a transfer. Their
Yep.
viewers, their followers, they don't purchase our product. That's fine. It's not for everybody. And so I would say, have a personal value. Let your manager tell you what your value is. That's why a manager also is good, because they can tell you that kind of stuff. I know there's conversations that some of the managers I work with have had to have with their influencers, like, hey, look, Anthony, this isn't disrespectful, like the number or whatever that he's offering you. This is mobile gaming is where it is, and G Fuel, for whatever it's worth, you know, when they're evaluating, we have to evaluate the return on investment. That's a reality. And so I'd sign everyone if I could. I'd give everybody a partnership. That'd be awesome. We could all just party and drink G Fuel forever.
People do forget that it's a business.
Yes, it is a business. I don't think most people forget that. I think they just remember their own business more than ours, which makes sense. You know, look out for yourself, but be careful that you don't overvalue yourself to where when that non-endemic sponsor decides to go to something else, you now can't get a sponsorship with the endemic sponsor that was reaching out to you 2 months ago.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I suspect that the non-endemics kind of, and Amanda, you could speak more to this, but I get the impression that they're more kind of flashes. Like they'll come in for a few months and get their representation and check, okay, like we've got our enough content, we can leverage that to say that we support gaming, we're in gaming, versus brands like MGC and G Fuel that are looking for long-term, like we want to really form a relationship with our partners. So it's not about, you know, just here's a bunch of cash for one video or a few months of mention. It's about let's kind of build something together. And so yeah, that is a good point. While I think it does benefit, there is having that much attention and that much power from those non-endemic brands does bring some potential negatives. But that's where a manager comes in and helps, you know, and helps both sides keep things, you know, reasonably in mind and allow things to kind of move forward in a positive manner for the long run.
Yeah, and that's an issue that I find often is that new non-endemic brands will look to enter the space. They don't know who, what, where, when, why, or how. They just know they need to be in it. And if they don't go about it the right way, they don't utilize the correct agencies to help them enter, they end up spending a lot of money on test budgets and pulling out because they saw absolutely no ROI. And I see you, Anthony, you're just like, yes. So much.
You're
yes,
spitting a lot of facts.
Yeah, I see it all the time. Here's 20,000. Here's 50,000. We want to, you know, get into gaming. We want to launch this, and that's so exciting. I love to see it, but a big portion of my job is educating people. Like, yes, I run talent. Yes, I run sales, but I spend so much time just educating people on why this mobile content creator can do X, Y, and Z for them. I can't remember which game it was, but it was a brand new mobile game launching, and they were like, for $2,000, we want 25,000 downloads. And I'm like, oh my goodness, you don't know anything about this, which is okay, but like we have to have a come to Jesus moment, because that's not going to happen. So it's a lot of educating brands, but also I think it's a lot about educating content creators too. I'm sitting in that interesting and unique seat that Anthony discussed, that he's like, okay, I can only pay up to X amount. Same thing with Chris. We've actually both exclusively had these conversations where I have to relay this, you know, message of, hey, like, of course you as a content creator value yourself highly, and you should, but you're really only worth so much. And it's an interesting conversation to have over and over again. But it's definitely important to be able to communicate that effectively across from brand to content creator, etc.
Absolutely. I love that you guys brought up so much intricate things in there. I think there's a lot of value to add from that for the viewers. I have a question for Bufretti though, because I think you can speak on this really well as someone who has approached people in the past, and now you have people approach you. So a lot of the people in the chat that are just joining are asking, how do you they're looking to get their first sponsor, and we did touch on how to approach them, but do you need a pitch deck? Because I know we talked about having a manager, but does a pitch deck help? And do you do it through email or through DMs? Obviously, you kind of touched on it earlier, but kind of just briefly recap.
Before I had AMG representing me, I had my own pitch deck that I copied from like another org that I saw doing a pitch. Oh, that's great, because then it's a very easy way of kind of showcasing your numbers and maybe past sponsorships that you have, and it's just your resume, right? I have this is my professional resume, and this is like my YouTube resume of what I've done and what I can do. I do think it's those are great eye catchers, and it's a very compact way of displaying very important information in a very pleasing way. I'm not saying get a sheet with 500 words on it. I remember mine was very simple. This is how many subs I got, how many views I got. This were my past sponsors. This is what I need from you and what I can do for you. And that was pretty much it. And it was specific to who I was targeting. I didn't had one that was just generic for everyone, because I don't want to be sponsored by anyone, if that makes sense. Like at some point, like at the beginning, sure, you'll get pretty much anything, but there is a point in which it's not about the money, it's about the company itself.
Absolutely.
That is when you said that it was specific to who you were approaching, that's so key. Like for some influencers, I don't even need a pitch deck, because I'm always going to do my own homework. The show that Amanda does weekly, they talk about, they'll walk through people's accounts and things like that. Like that's my job. That's what I do every day, is to know those numbers. And I think that when people do the pitch decks, though, I will say that if you're a higher end influencer, especially if you're a large org, pitch decks can go a long way, because the more money you want, the more detail you're going to have to provide, and so the larger the sponsorship and the partnership, the pitch deck does matter. I would always have it stocked and ready. And so let's just say somebody says, can you give me your Twitter analytics? And you have part of your pitch deck that is a page on your Twitter analytics. You can just send that one piece if you want, make it relevant. If someone says, do you have a pitch deck? Then you have it ready. I'd say anything that you can use to represent yourself and to show, what's that thing, Linktree, some people use, where all of their links are in one page. Oh my gosh, that's a lifesaver. If someone could just DM me their Linktree and say, hey, I'm looking for G Fuel sponsorship, and they had that, I would look at that 90% more than a message that's like 7,000 words, every link to every channel and their most recent video. Because in the midst of me in my busy day, when I see a requested DM and I go look at it real fast, if it had one link where all the links, I think somebody said this yesterday on a panel, if it had one page where I could go to everything, Twitter, Instagram, I'm going to leave that tab open on my computer and look at it later. And so you're giving yourself a leg up. And that's just like a little hint. If you are DMing for sponsorships, use Linktree or something like that. So.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, the way that our program is set up is we use a portal called Impact Radius, and it's the portal that manages all of our partners, gives them their own dashboard. They have total visibility to how their codes are performing, and we can run a lot of cool things through that. But part of that is that if somebody goes to our website and clicks through and then it pops up, I get a notification that somebody's applied. It basically has, all I have to go off of is your name, if that's all you include. And we ask on the page of our website, please include link your socials. You basically need to introduce yourself. Don't just apply. It's like you wouldn't necessarily just, send. It's not even a resume. I know nothing other than your name. So, and it also helps if you're going to do that, that's fine, because, okay, now you're in Impact, but then hit me up in DMs with a Linktree with your socials and your information. I mean, I need to, you want me to kind of take that funnel of content to really understand who you are, whether it's, short form video on TikTok or just checking out your Twitter, like how do you interact? If you link me your stream and I see you're live, I'm going to check you out. But it's really gaining a well-rounded understanding of who you are as a content creator that makes that decision of whether to approve or deny much easier. And frankly, if I get a DM, and I did just this morning, like, how do I get sponsored? I mean, personally, I want to respond just somehow, because I don't like leave people hanging.
Yep.
But like, it's like, oh, come on, like. You have to sell me on who you are, and you should be excited to. It's like, hey, this is who I am. This is my content. I play this game. This is what I'm about. Like, if you're not, I don't get the impression that you're excited about yourself enough for you to want to then, represent a brand. It's like, you got to come out and like showing me that you are, that you can bring it.
And well, that's $1 million question. How do you get sponsored? Like, well, yeah. I have it, like Anthony said, I have a talk show that really talks about that every single week for an hour and a half, more or less. Like, such a loaded question, and there's so many things that it's not as simple like, oh, you just like do a backflip. Oh, okay, cool. I'll just do the backflip and I'll get sponsored. But I think that's the beauty of it. It's not just that easy, not just that simple. And brands like MGC and G Fuel look at the uniqueness of content creators and not just their metrics. It's not only about these KPIs that you guys were talking about earlier, but like, are you super hyped on yourself? Because that gets me excited. Like, or if you're just like, oh, let me just throw some darts at a wall and see who takes, it's very obvious when that happens.
Do you want to code because you want to work with a company, or do you want to code just to say that you got to code?
Yeah, exactly.
First impression matters. I know we're getting near the end of the panel, but first impression matters. We haven't really talked about it, and here's the deal. You don't know when the first impression is going to happen. So you always have to be making a first impression. Like always in every video, think about a sponsor probably might see this, and I know for some people, it's like, well, I don't want to change who I am. And I don't want to, well, then maybe you don't want that sponsor, and that's just the reality is that that's a part of life is that in order to find yourself in certain circles, there may be aspects of what you do that you may have to alter, and it may be in terms of your Twitter. Maybe you don't promote your other sponsors as much as you should. Maybe start meeting your deliverables, and then the other sponsorships you actually want, they can come around and reach out to you. I just think I've seen some first impressions where I'm like, oh, you could have killed it. Like that was like your chance. That was your moment. And if you think about what Chris said, it's so hard to be in our shoes in terms of not feeling like we're egoing people. Like when you don't respond to that DM. And I could be in the middle of an important Discord call. I could be on this panel and get a DM and it says, I'm the best person for G Fuel. You need to look at my content. And I could be like, okay, well, I can't look at that right now. So you got to think about what are you going to say in that little blurb that's going to maybe get me to click or look or respond, and then reach out again. Don't be like, I'll be blatantly honest with you guys. To get hired at G Fuel, it took me 5 months of representing myself as best as possible with my content, when I was making my podcast, with my tweets. And I wanted myself to look like a safe hire, but also like someone who, on the drop of a dime, can increase my level of engagement in the gaming community to meet the demand of my job. And so it's going to take time sometimes. It's not going to be like you just knock on the door and because you're the best at your esport, you all of a sudden now are going to get a sponsorship. I'm sure there's people that Chris has looked at for a while and then waited. I'll be honest, because I can say it now. There was a while where I was trying to figure out how we could partner with MGC because I just love what they do, and not just as a personal consumer. Like, I mean, there's claw socks all over my desk right now, but it's like, it's not just as a consumer because I love the product and it helps me game better. But I was asking him the other day, I said, do you guys have competitors? Like, who else is doing this? Because there's a niche that they're serving that interests me. And I don't know how right now that G Fuel can partner. So we just are being friends and talking to each other in DMs and keeping in contact.
I'm already on that Nemesis tee. I got Cubs at home. So you already got me.
Awesome. So it's just like first impression matters. It is very important. And even when I reached out to Chris, I probably tried to make a good first impression, because first impressions matter across the board, partners to partners, sponsors to sponsors. And so just keep that in mind when you're posting, tweeting, and making content.
Awesome. Hello, Matt.
Hello. So we usually try to wrap, 5 or 10 minutes or so before the next panel. This has been such great conversation that I've kind of enjoyed just letting it go. I wish we could do this for longer. So, but wow, we've had just incredible reactions in chat and on social media. I don't know if you guys have seen, but this has just been an incredible panel. Thank you so much to each of you for sharing your thoughts on this. Obviously, such an important topic for a lot of people at all different stages in the esports industry. And I think we were able to really hit on just general things as far as what role partnerships and sponsorships plays, what the importance is of understanding your partner and their business and what they're looking for, and then also really practical stuff like how you can land your first sponsorship or partnership as a player or creator or even an organization. So this has been absolutely a pleasure. Thank you so much to everybody for taking the time here.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
And I think also, Chris, that we still get you for one more here. I can't wait to keep this party going. Amanda, Buffaretti, and Kingdom, thank you so much for joining us. I hope if we have another one that you'll each join for that as well. But we got another great panel joining or coming up here next. We have event production. And so basically what we're going to be able to do is talk about what role events play and hopefully some real, excellent advice from people that have been through the ropes as well. So should we transition somehow, Legacy? How do we want to do this?
Yeah, I got you. Let's go to
Cool.
back to Ellen. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Have a good day, guys.
Absolutely incredible. So we're right at the start of our next panel. So let's just kind of keep this going. Does that sound good?
Oh, you just want to go back into the other panel?
I think let's do it. Yeah,
Okay,
we're on
great.
a roll here.
All right, perfect. Let me just adjust something here real fast here.
You got it. Awesome. So while we're getting that set up, Jack from Geyser, buddy, how are you, man? Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I've been watching. I saw Chris on the last broadcast, and I watched yesterday's panel too. It was awesome. You guys are
amazing.
tremendous.
Incredible. And we've got Sui Generis joining as well, another mobile esports specialist. How are you, man?
Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon for those on the East Coast. I'm good. You?
Doing great. We got a great panel just before this one, and I actually think this is maybe our most stacked panel of the Expo. I may have said that before, though, on some of them. It's just incredible, the people that have been able to volunteer their time. And Kima rounding out the panel for us here, man. I love the jersey. Welcome, Kima from Hammers. I think we got you on mute.
Unmute yourself, buddy.
There you go. I got you.
Awesome.
I got
So
you.
we're
We're
ready
good
to
to go.
roll. I'll go ahead and hop out and have a great panel, everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Matt.
Amazing. So if you guys are just tuning in, welcome to the second panel of the day. It's the Mobile Esports Event Production Panel, which I'm very excited for because I love to do that stuff as well. What I want you guys to do, like we start off in every panel, just introduce yourself and what you do in mobile. Obviously, Chris was on the last one, but you can further reiterate, maybe specifically for the event production side. And we'll start with Chris and then go clockwise.
All right, I'm Chris. I'm president of MGC, Mobile Gaming Core. We're one of the premier providers of accessories and gear specifically for mobile gamers. And on the event side, a key part of our marketing from day one, something that we always wanted to do, was bring our own kind of angle to events and basically, kind of democratize tournaments. What that basically means is creating tournaments that everyone can participate in, whereas it is largely designed for pros and orgs, where it very much should be. I mean, that's where the real heart of esports is. But we wanted to create something that offered kind of players that were playing every day. We talk about those 50 million daily active users of PUBG Mobile. There's a lot of talented people out there. We wanted to give them a forum where they could kind of show out in a professional feeling setting, like a really high level production for prize pools that were up there with what the pros were making, and just deliver a pro experience to the masses.
Awesome. We'll go to Jack next.
Yeah, guys. Hey, I'm Jack Lemire. I have been in the mobile gaming space for about 5 years now. I'm the founder and CEO of Geyser. Conceptually started Geyser in 2017. I've done a lot of research in the mobile space. I would say Clash Royale back in 2016 was the game that was kind of my aha moment, where I was like, this is clearly where things are moving. And at Geyser, for those that don't know, we are making mobile gaming more fun, better connected, and more rewarding. So that's our absolute mission statement, and that's what we're going to do.
Amazing. Kiba and the my bottom right.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Kima, founder and CEO of Hammers Esports, original mobile first esports organization since 2015. I'm proud to say that I've built an incredible family and community. We call them Ham Fam over here. And nearly all of you, I think, on this panel and prior have either graduated from Hammer's halls or have worked with me in the past. Chris, you're the exception, so we're definitely going to have a phone call later on. But yeah, literally all of you have almost worked with us individually or as an organization. So I look forward to expanding on that, growing our community even further. Again, many of you can attest to just us being a mobile first and an events based production organization. So yeah, looking forward to this panel. Very excited.
Awesome. And then Sui Generous in the bottom left.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Jeff C. Jonas Chow. So I was one of the co-founders of Hammers Esports and worked with Kima. We actually did like one of our first live events in Vegas with Monster, D-Face, Nick at Night, live Clash Royale event. So I can speak to like the grassroots part of that. So that was really fun organizing and planning all that. And I've worked across the entire kind of esports ecosystem. So been a pro player, a caster. So I worked at ESL. I worked at NGE or Next Generation Entertainment. I've worked with Red Bull Esports. I've done the Asia Games in 2018. I also worked with a lot of other like Mineski, like tournament operators and organizers, event organizers, like in Singapore, you know, a few times. And I've done other events like all over from Sao Paulo to EU. To Poland, the UK offices with ESL. So a lot of like exposure, you know, mostly as a caster, of course, a lot of exposure though to the teams and all the event people that work. Since I was a caster and a coach and all that and a GM for like Immortals, I got to see a lot of the event production side and got to interact and network with a lot of the people there. So I can't wait to kind of talk about that. I also ran a Clash Royale or Clan Royale League or CRL back then. We had like almost 10,000 like weekly users running like tournaments. We had like 4 tournaments a week online. We ran it through smash.gg. So I can definitely speak to like the adminning side and the moderation side. A lot of work, like organizing the streams and setting up the graphics. There's a lot of things involved in event production that I can't wait to talk about. So I'm glad to be here and happy to be here as well.
Awesome. We're definitely going to get into that because I think that's really important, the event production, what goes on behind the scenes. There's a lot of roles in the event production side. So I kind of want to just start it off first with an open-ended question. And it's how does one build a community for their event, whether it's online or even a live event, and how can they continue to grow that, I guess maybe season after season? And then we'll just let whoever wants to go first with that.
All right, I'll take it on. Okay, so with Hammers Esports, again, with what Swede says, we literally created this organization as being a mobile first community. So building the community was first, especially in esports, establishing yourself as a passionate gamer for a game, right? So we started off specifically with Vainglory, which arguably is the first mobile esports title of its kind. And that is, I'd say, the prime example of building a gaming community from the ground up. I mean, they were looking for that talent. They were looking for people who were so passionate that they would just come up with these events, and that's what we did. So Hammers literally started off the organization doing events for Vainglory until we got a magical phone call straight from SEMC, from Super Evil Megacorp. So it launched careers, it launched organizations asking us, how did you do this tournament? How did you create such a league, or how did you do this, to the point where the growing community leaned on us to do productions, and ultimately I got hired out of that experience to go and work for SEMC and do productions worldwide. And Swede can attest to that. We've been working together so long. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's building a community. I mean, first comes with the passion of actually wanting to connect with the developers, doing something so polished that they can't not reach out to you, and that can be displayed through your work in events production. 100%.
Yeah, and to kind of echo what Kimo was talking about, I think it's really kind of forming a group of like-minded people. So it could be like a clan or a guild that eventually morphs and grows and evolves into like something like Hammers Esports. So I met Kima when it was Halcyon Hammers a long time ago. I remember having that phone call, outside when I was in Washington, D.C., and I joined to be a professional player, and things kind of took off from there. And once you find like your community, I think this is what it's really about. Whether you're a graphic designer, you love league ops, right? You love like adminning things, organizing things, just continue to work on that with small organizations and then build your resume and your experience. I think that's where it all starts. Like when I ran the event for the Las Vegas with our partnership with GameWorks, like I had no live event production experience. I had to Google, research, ask a lot of people questions, plan the entire program. Like you're like a program manager, right? When you run events, you have to like project manage the entire event. Like what is the theme? What are the graphic assets you need? So Kima was very helpful with like designing and building all of those graphics assets for me. So if you're a graphic designer, there's a huge role, and people are hiring left and right for graphic designers in the esports production space. And that's kind of like how you start out is you start small, you find your community. For us, it was Line. Before Discord even existed, we used Mumble, we were on Line chat, right? We were on band chat. And then now it's really all about Discord. So like find your community, your guild, your esports org on Discord, join, like look at the tournament operators, who's running like community-based tournaments or small tournaments, amateur tournaments, you name it. And then you can then eventually graduate to the big leagues, or maybe one of your event organizers and tournament organizers become the big lead and get like a deal with like the developer, like Kima literally just talked about. So I think that's where it starts, is like just continue to contribute to the scene. If your strength is graphic design, your strength is league ops, then contribute to that area in the game that you love, in the competitive scene that you love. And then when it starts taking off, you're going to grow with it, right? Because you helped it grow, and the game is also growing, and you're going to grow with it. And there's also some growing pains, like Vainglory took off and then kind of died down. So there's going to be some risk, but you have transferable skills. You can take the league ops that you built or graphics design stuff that you did and take it to Clash Royale, take it to another mobile esports, because eventually mobile esports will take off like it has all over the world.
Yeah, and to go off of Jeff, focusing community experience leads to a stronger reputation, which leads to brand recognition on a high level. And you also have to leverage the tools around you now too. A lot of people are, as Jeff said, a lot of people are contributing to the space. Our space is very interesting because there are so many passionate members in this community that other industries simply don't have. So that's the one thing that I think we're really lucky to have in this space. People are willing to help moderate, ref, create graphics. So leverage those around you, leverage those tools, leverage those resources. And as Jeff said, you're going to grow with the community.
Yep. Krista, do you want to talk about how you guys are also innovating in the event production side of things?
Sure. Well, as far as the actual production, that's handled entirely by Powerbang and Winsanity and Metalcore and like the guys over there, and they do such an amazing job. So I want to start by thanking them for bringing that level of polish and professionalism and talent and everything that they bring to it. It's just for us to basically hand over, like we had this dream of creating this, what we hope to soon be kind of a league unto itself that crosses different titles, but certainly starting with PUBG, this was our first kind of like coming out party, and we wanted to be big. We wanted to rattle the cages of the mobile esports scene and let them know, like, get attention, like, okay, so okay, where do I sign up my org? It's like, well, you don't, it's solos. What? we wanted to bring something that was really kind of fresh, but at a high level. So production side, PB and his crew have done a fantastic job of bringing all of that. On the community side, and also because it's different in that we were setting something up to be ongoing, kind of indefinitely, really. I mean, again, we see this as a cornerstone of our larger marketing program. So we want this to go on and get bigger and grow into new titles and whatnot, as opposed to maybe creating one big event, like yearly event or something like that, where it might ramp up a whole lot and then take place, and then you're kind of in the planning stage for the next one. We do have seasons, so we do want to change things up a little bit. And like I said, we're expanding into different games, so there is going to be some various levels of admin lifting and getting us to those next steps. But But from the community side, we're over 8,000 on our Discord. The way that people take part in the event is that every product you purchase from us comes with a one-time use code that gets you into the elite portion of the Discord server. We're also always giving away codes. Another thing PB and Win have done and other partners have done a cool job of is kind of like seeding codes in their content. So it's kind of like an Easter egg hunt, giving away on Twitter, because we just want to get as many people involved as we can. Whether you purchase or use our products or not. This is about offering a platform for casuals and pros alike. Like, we don't exclude anybody. We've had a lot of pros that have run solos and taken home some significant prize pools, and we've got people that are basically unknowns that have got to show their skill, and then also have the opportunity to have their gameplay called by Powerbang, of somebody that they've been watching and are fans of their content, and now they're interacting. They have a relationship with them on a different level that in and of itself is hugely satisfying. So that was another kind of key part of what we wanted to set up. So yeah, I can certainly speak to kind of our ethos and why we're doing what we're doing. From the technical standpoint, though, that's all PB and his crew.
Awesome. So I like that you jumped into the technical side of things, because I want people to understand like the different roles that go into event production, from the live aspect online to the behind the scenes, like what I'm doing right now, and why they're so important and why they're valuable and why they could be actually good career paths as well. So whoever wants to jump in on that first, go ahead.
Yeah, I can definitely talk to that, because I've worked with organizations like ESL and NGE and stuff. They need a project manager, so that's like the person that budgets and kind of creates the project, that they work directly with the developer or the person that wants to create this esports competition. It could be a developer, could be a third party. And they're integral. They work a lot and they're very busy. They're behind the scenes. No one knows who they are. But they're one that kind of like works with the talent, like kind of just lays everything out on a big fat Excel sheet and make sure that the entire production crew and everything is taken care of. And then you look at like job listings on ESL, for example, right? There's social media managers, there's partnerships managers, there's a lot of things. They're even hiring a director of mobile in Cologne. Yeah, you guys know that, but they're hiring a director of mobile product in Cologne. So there's operations specialists, there's league ops, right? There's a lot of people. There's audio technical, right? There's video technical. I know that like Tasty Bacon is one of my co-casters for Vainglory. He actually worked part-time with ESL while he was casting on the weekends, and worked with ESL during the week because he wanted to learn new skills, and end up doing some work in their kind of audio engineering department, because there's a whole team that runs the event production online. There are people that check the audio channels. They make sure like do you guys wonder like why the sound and everything is just so perfect, right? It's because of these audio engineers and the people behind the scenes doing it, and the graphics, the transitions, right? There's people that like do the transition. There's literally like the camera person that looks the angles, right? If you love cameras and photography, that's probably a great role for you. There's also the director that kind of directs the entire show, like the transitions. He like calls all the timers and like makes sure that the entire show just feels like it's so like you don't even notice like all the hard work that's happening behind the scenes from the team, right? So like the Red Bull Esports people do it as well. They were hiring at one point and hired like Cherry Gaming, who I know really well. And there's a lot of opportunities in the event production side, especially online, given COVID. So I'll be clear there. And I think that, with esports and how much it's growing, if you're good at social media, graphic design, league ops, like all that, like admin, moderation, there's going to be an opportunity for you to kind of move your way up and really get involved into the core kind of operators within the esports space. And if you're not at like the ESL level or Red Bull Esports kind of level, that's fine. There's a lot of amateur, organizations and community leagues and tournaments that you should definitely participate in, especially casters too. Casters start out like me, start out very like just streaming, right? And you're like, and you start doing like the community events and casting those amateur tournaments that get very, very little viewership, but that's where you're building your skills. You're building and investing in yourself so that you can contribute at a higher level later on. So I think for event production, it's all about taking small steps and making sure that you're building and investing in those skill sets so that when the opportunity does come at Red Bull Esports or Tencent or ESL, you're qualified. Like you've done it all. You're exactly who they need once mobile esports starts to take off, and it will. With Call of Duty Mobile, with the World Championship, where they're trying to take a tip into esports. PUBG Mobile is exploding. The beautiful esports. Their esports venue is just amazing and beautiful. Just surprised to see how much mobile esports has grown, and PUBG Mobile has a very bright future. It's the largest game in the world. Actually, it's the most played game, the large game, easily over 100 million daily active users. Actually, and that's a game like more PUBG Mobiles will form. Like Free Fire has 80 million daily active users, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to come to the West eventually, and when you guys have your skill sets built, you'll be ready to kind of pounce on the opportunity.
I think and also to relay that and echo that, the keyword here is to become a producer, right? Everything that Suijay has mentioned is to become a producer of an event, and whether that means that you're doing the adminning or you're doing the form. I mean, it all comes with actual organization of the event. If you can produce me a run of show that you know exactly when something's going to happen, that is extremely wanted in this industry. Someone who is organized, someone who can produce a run of show, and we have examples of that. So if anybody has any questions on what a run of show is, to keep you guys aligned or I guess in focus or wanting more information of how to run an event, it all comes down to a very well prepared run of show. I would say like Suijay, I mean, even throwing him blindly into something like the GameWorks Clash Royale event, created his own run of show, and it's commendable for people who want to go out there and display themselves in front of people for the first time ever, right? So that's another defining trait. Don't be shy. Don't be shy to reach out. Don't be shy to meet new people. It's very important in event production because you're going to be talking to a multitude of different people from any corner of the earth. So, don't be shy. Work on those run of shows. Let us know if you need any help. We're here to answer any questions you might have.
Awesome. And I love that you guys mentioned the technical side of things. And I think one of the things that Jack at Geyser is doing is developing a lot of the stuff we mentioned and making it into an easy to use application. So did you want to kind of talk about what it is and how it benefits the mobile community?
Yeah, sure. So we're not focused on live events at all at Geyser. We're just focused on, at a high level, I would say we're online infrastructure for mobile events. So we allow gamers and organizers to conveniently create competitive experiences. So we plug into game developers, and it's interesting because in the mobile scene, a lot of these publishers or developers are more open to pushing out their data in a public manner via API or private API. And then there's also technology now, AI, OCR, that you can leverage to see, okay, now I know what happened in that PUBG or whatever game. So we're using technologies like that. And what we're doing, like Kevin mentioned, is working directly with the game and then allowing creators, organizers, gamers to create a bracket experience, a leaderboard experience, a live ladder experience. And then anyone from all over the world can join, depending on how competitive you want to get to break it down into regions or geos. But yeah, so we're really lowering the barriers to entry for competitive experiences. I mean, mobile, as we all know, is a super democratizing device as is. So we're trying to lower it even more. And then, I've been thinking about this quite a bit recently, is just what other barriers are there for people all around the world? So we have network infrastructure is improving pretty much everywhere. Certainly in the mobile first regions, countries like India has vastly improved over the past few years. And then we have some gamers that are on their data plans, but I think what we're going to start to see, and we've already actually started seeing like Virgin, a telco or a carrier, has we were starting to see these carriers release packages for mobile gaming. So I think we're going to start to see carriers open to 0 rating data packages for people to play in these tournaments, because that shouldn't be an excuse to not play in a Clash Royale or a PUBG Mobile tournament because you can't afford your data. So I think that we're going to start to see some changes over the next few years there. And yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting. We're starting to see better technology on the game developer side. Obviously, better games come out, more mid-core games being developed, more people. I think Sujay wrote an article last year talking about how mobile is enabling more mobile gamers. And that's something that we just haven't seen before. So it's very exciting.
Anyone else want to touch on that?
Well, Jack and I have spoken in the past. I'm just excited that his platform is out there in the world, because it's going to potentially allow a company like us and our goals in the event space. Not only us, but the people that would want to be involved. Because going back to the past panel where we were talking about our partnerships, we're partnered with people that certainly have skills. They run their own small events, but to take them into something a little bit bigger, having a platform like Geyser makes it much more simple for us, and most importantly for them, to run a really high level, highly organized event. So for us specifically, it's a fantastic tool.
I like that you brought up the partnership spot there, and that's a question I definitely want to touch on. But I kind of want to go back and touch on how does a smaller community organizer, a grassroots person, create an event that is memorable for not only the viewer, but also for the players involved. Because we've all been there. If we've tried to create an event and you have this vision, you have this idea, you try to execute, and maybe it just doesn't turn out, and you see the feedback, and it's not maybe as perfect as you wanted it, but you want to improve. What are the key aspects of that?
Yeah, I can definitely talk to it. As a caster, we do a lot of storyboarding. And that's basically, we think about the narrative. Like, what is the story, right? If you think about startup, like Geezer's a startup and stuff, like I'm working in a startup, like the money and the customers functions as it's a function of the story. Like everything is a function of the story. You think about stocks and investing, like AMD just like taking off because Intel like delayed their chips, right? The reason why AMD stock price just shot up like almost 16% is because the narrative has changed. And you think about esports and it's program, right? Program management. It's about telling that story. So in order to kind of throw a really great event, what is the story you're telling? What is like the right, like Vainglory? We did such an amazing job, and I miss the Vainglory community so much. We talked about the rivalries between TSM and Immortals, the former player that was on the team, or like Cole the Meek and Mishi joined my team and they're former TSM, and we faced TSM. So that's like, these narratives are powerful, are extremely compelling, and it sets up the story for that like match, right? And then you think about the overarching story. So Playoff Beard was with Super Evo. Now he's with EA, but he did a really good job driving the narrative. He would like get all of the talent, all the casters. He would talk within like the league chat and think about like, okay guys, what is the story? What is the most powerful storyline for this weekend's competition? And I think if you're running an event, you need to answer that question. Like, what is the storyline? Like, out of all the teams that are participating, maybe it's a specific player. I had Surgical Goblin in Clan Royale League back then when he was like not a nobody, and he joined Hammers. And he was like this superstar that no one kind of knew about, but like he really didn't like demonstrate his power until he joined Hammers and took it up another notch. And we started becoming like, Hammers was like the joke of the Clash Royale League that I was running. We were like the joke of the entire thing, and like one of the worst performing teams. And then bam, we became one of the best teams because like we had this like changing narrative, and we capitalized on that. We talked about the new talent we brought in, the new players. We had full frontage as a coach. We had like all these things kind of work out for us, but that was a storyline that we wanted to tell. And then we told stories of like Nova Esports being a dominant player and all that. I mean, that's how you like really think about event production. It actually starts with the story. You have to really be creative. You have to kind of write the storylines, like storyboard it. Like think about like, okay, how does this person's narrative like intersect with another competitor's narrative? How does this team's kind of like their week 1, week 2? How does that like translate to week 3, but what is like the overall arching point? Like, what is the most compelling, exciting thing that you want to talk about when you broadcast that event, right? The quarterfinals to the semifinals, what are the key narratives for each of those competitions? And you want to make sure that you get that right, because your graphics will reflect the story, your talent, your casters, and what they talk about, what they emphasize will reflect the story you want to tell, and so on. And in the chat will also follow the narrative, because that is like the overarching theme. Your chat in Twitch and YouTube and used to be Mob Crush will also reflect a lot of like what you're talking about, and all of a sudden you have a very cohesive event that kind of sticks in people's heads, and they'll remember it. So that's kind of my feedback from my experience running so many mobile esports events online and live.
And to pivot off that too, I almost want to say, as a starting grassroots community TO, pick your titles wisely. Pick titles with developers that will give you access to those APIs, that will give you access to artwork. I mean, flipping on community dev hat on, we will not ignore you if you want to create an event based on our game. We will try to always provide you with the assets that you need to make yourselves look good, because you're only going to make us look good. Of course, we're going to judge you at the gate. We're going to look at what the storyline you're trying to build. We're going to look at how your run of show is going to be. I mean, at least I do. I mean, I guess I'm a good judge of like what of the event that I want to see produced out of you. So if you're a fledgling community TO and you're looking for a way to start your careers in event production, check yourselves with the title that you want to get into, right? Make sure that the title's got a lot of decent artwork that you can use too, and not just lift off of like a fan page or anything. So, build your story, surround yourself with like-minded people that are also passionate. Again, Sweej mentioned this prior, and I feel like I'm referencing Sweej a lot here. I'm sorry, Chris and Jack. It's just we've worked together. There's a lot of synergy here in the past, but he's seen it from. Yeah, he's seen literally the ground up build here of talent, and also too, I'm gonna be mad at you because you didn't bring up Backstab. You literally found Backstab. Remember that? So
yeah,
Backstab X. We built his story from the ground up as well. Went on to win a championship. Again, be open to those partnerships from the developer itself. Make sure that you tie on to developers that are very much open to giving you those assets. Say hi to your community managers. Those guys are the salt of the earth. Speaking from being one. And it opens up the opportunities when you tie yourself to games that give you those great assets to work with awesome people like Chris and Jack, right? So it only enables you to further your partnerships by tying yourself to games that are open to giving you those assets, giving you as much support, social media support, as much as possible. So those are my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, and then just one more note. I think the creators in past panels have certainly touched on this, but starting off as a TO, you have to be patient. The first few events you do, and specifically online events, I'm not talking about the large live production, but they're not going to go 100% smoothly. Everyone should know this by now, hopefully. So you have to kind of, I would say, the steps in order: do your research, engage the community, and then get started. Have your first event, learn from your first event. And I mentioned this earlier too, is leverage the resources around you, the mods, the refs, producers, GFX, etc. And then leverage the tools. We have people in this space that are building, all of us on the panel right here are building services to help this space. So that'd be my 2 cents.
Amazing. I wanted to actually piggyback off of that a little further. Now we can kind of pivot towards so your grassroots tournament is doing well. How do you now approach for a sponsor? Does that benefit your tournament as well? And I want to start with Chris in the top for this one.
Yeah, so our goal is to kind of like build our own thing. However, knowing that you can't do that all at once, I've spoken with people in games like Wings for Misfits, about some ideas in COD Mobile. If it gets us into a game that we want to be in, that we know, eventually will be part of what we want to do just in and of our own event space, then we're happy to consider it. And it doesn't really matter if it gels with our overall kind of tournament platform ethos. It can be like, if it's like in that instance, it was all pro orgs, and that's actually great, that because we kind of want to, as a brand, want to be in both camps. While casual gaming is overwhelmingly the where mobile gamers are, but there's such a rich and amazing esport and pro scene there too. So opportunities, because that's kind of not how we're positioning ourselves. So any opportunity to have a presence there is worthwhile as well. So for us, it's pretty much game and who's running it. With Wings, it was like, oh, dude, okay, yeah, we're good. So those are what's most important to us. Really, is just making sure it's going to be a level of production that's professional. What are the prize pools like? How are you, like, what are you doing to attract players? We don't have like a number that, like, hey, if it's below X, we're not interested. Oftentimes that's why obviously people come to brands. It's like, hey, we want to offer this much in a prize pool, or how about your products, or we want to like outfit our like every org with like claw socks for this or something, for instance. But those are title and who's running it, and just what's the level of production we can expect.
Yeah, and I definitely want to add to that is I've been on kind of in these pitches, right? So when I was the GM with Immortals, I was on the pitch when we met with the CEO of Tinder. And we got the Tinder sponsorship with the Brazilian side of the business. And I think what's really important to understand is the story I want to tell here is traction. You need to have traction. You need to show a clear ROI, because they're not going to sponsor you if they don't think they're going to get something back. And that's just how relationships work. So you need to understand that you need to have traction first. You need something that you can contribute, and then you build the relationship from there. And that's how sponsorships work, is you help their business and they help your business. And I think that's really important. Like, people think like just because you start a mobile esports org and the game has like 50 million daily active users, well, the esports scene may not have taken off. The esports scene may not have the traction that they're looking for, and it's getting a couple hundred viewers, but it's not getting tens of thousands of viewers. I think that's very, very, very important to understand. So if you understand the story you want to tell when you're pitching, and the numbers match up with that story, and you can say that, hey, if you're a cell phone provider and we're in like the Brawl Stars League and it's growing like 50%, 100% year over year, here's the exposure I can give you, here's the number of impressions, and this will probably help you improve your phone sales or give you mind share in the market. Sometimes they're not looking for sales of devices, they're looking to get mind share and brand recognition in the consumer in the minds of the consumer demographic they're chasing, which is like the young Gen Z, which is a lot of the mobile players, right? And you have to think about the regions, because they have different budgets per region. If you're West, you're EU, you're South America, you're Southeast Asia, you're going to do a little better because mobile esports has tons of traction there. So it always functions as a part of that story, that narrative, right? So if the esports scene in the West is starting to take off, then you start to see growth, success, sustainable growth, quarter over quarter, year over year. Then that's something you definitely want to pitch to the sponsor, and why them getting involved is going to help improve their brand awareness, hopefully their sales, right? Because ultimately that's what matters to them, is their ROI. I think that's very important, and you have to be honest with them. Don't try to like throw all these big fat numbers and like take the entire global market of esports and say that, yeah, this is how big it is, and then you're not focusing on exactly their core KPI. Or KPI is key performance indicator. Their KPIs matter, and if it's a mobile, you need to focus on those mobile numbers in the specific regions that you're talking about, and not try to throw all the China numbers in there, because that's what I see a lot of esports do from tier 1 to tier 3. They're throwing like Chinese numbers in there, and that's not relevant to the sponsor if they don't have any business in China. So I think those key things are really important too when you're trying to land that sponsorship. And what works really well is like early sponsorship, where it's just like non-cash and just basically support. whether it's a small amount of cash or it's like hardware or whatever. I think that's also very good in the beginnings of a mobile esports organization or event production. And once you start growing and getting lots of traction, then you have that relationship open. Then you can monetize that relationship by like saying, hey, we've grown 100 times, or 100% or 200% or whatever, and you can say, now let's kind of talk about how we can take this partnership further. And remember, it's a partnership, it's a relationship. That's why Team Liquid has done such a good job with Alienware. They had over 5 year relationship, right? And that is one of the most lucrative deals in esports. I can tell you right now. But that took years to build, right? And they've shown growth consistently year after year after year. And that's what partnerships about. And too many people think like they can get a sponsor to survive for a quarter or for a year. No, you have to think long term, because your sponsor's thinking long term too. And I think that's one of the biggest narratives that I want to talk about with sponsorships.
And I think and I love the word partnership. I will choose that word any day over sponsorship, because I think any community TO or any event producer in general needs to think of that symbiotic relationship as a partnership. And I bet this goes without saying, but both Chris and Jack have worked maybe through AMG as well, and I know Chris has worked through AMG, but I bet what they do, I bet what Ash and PB do is actually show you what they're producing, right? They iterate and they tell you, hey, this is where you're going to go. This is where we're going to showcase your brand. Don't be afraid to do that. And I see the words in there, like with Kang saying like in-kind partnerships. Don't be afraid to execute those either, especially as an up-and-coming TO. You wanna actually be as bold to tell them, hey, can I show you what the show is going to look like? Is this going to be okay with you? Is the placement of your brand going to be all right with you? I mean, I can do a cool transition here. Oh man, it goes above and beyond a working relationship with a partnership to see you strive that far, to see you make sure that you polish your events to that nature and keep them in the loop, right? Transparency is everything for a partnership. So, again, you're starting off and you want to kind of flex your show to these partnerships that maybe are new to you. Show them what you've got, especially after you've surrounded yourself with talent. Produce the show that you want, keep them in the loop, and make sure you have a good run.
Jack?
Yeah, I was just going to jump in, and I know I watched yesterday's panel too. Another strong tip is just always give too to start. Don't just come asking to take. If you give a few times to start, and then it kind of activates the other side to start giving more. And you typically are able to iterate faster and experiment faster. Like, okay, this might work, this might not. Kill ideas quick, and then if you have ideas that are working off the start, then iterate off of them, build off of them, and then that's how, like Keegan mentioned, the Liquid and Alienware partnership has done so well. Or any partnership the last 5 years. I mean, those relationships are certainly iterating and seeing what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, one thing that I found really interesting in being approached was one group kind of presented a range of ways in which the brand could be integrated. So for instance, there was kind of like the main like umbrella sponsor. Then there was, okay, well, if it's like basically more of a BR style, but we're doing like some TDM with content creators. So we're going to have like both the pro teams, but then we're going to have some of the top content guys come and battle it out. So you can represent that part of it. Or one kind of really cool idea was, pro player cards, like digital playing cards, basically, or collector cards. It's like, do you guys want to be the brand for that? So there was it was really intriguing about not only are there all these options, but what do I as a brand think are going to reach our target consumer? Maybe it's not
flexibility.
Yeah, maybe it's not so heavily on the pro team side, like as somebody that is kind of creating accessories that are more tailored towards the casual side of mobile gamers. Then maybe something like the more like content, maybe because that's going to attract a certain audience. The content TDMs or the playing cards, or things that will kind of last beyond the event. That was another consideration. Is okay, there's things that you'll get blasted during the event, but then there's other opportunities for what is going to have attention beyond the immediate event, which something like the content TDMs, people would come back to that to check it out, and the clips that they would create out of that. So having a really diversified kind of grouping of of activations or integrations makes it not only much easier for a brand to see where they fit, but it makes it exciting. I mean, it really stimulates a conversation about, how are we going to do this together? And it speaks to that partnership aspect that, Kima mentioned. It's like that, it kicks that off in a big, meaningful way.
Absolutely, because we've mentioned the storylines, we've mentioned the graphics, the branding placement, and that all kind of ties into, now that you've got all that, how do you market your event now? Like, especially like, what kind of social media should you use? Like, what are the best ways for someone to market their event now that you've got all these fundamentals? Who wants to start this one off?
Yeah, I think when it comes to marketing the event, you want to leverage the people who are already participating and are kind of invested in the event, the competitive players, the talent, or whoever, you want to piggyback off their networks so they can amplify and signal boost your message. You want to do some content marketing leading up to the event. I know Kima can speak to this because he was awesome with the graphics and helping us think through like what we want to kind of do leading up to the event. So you want to have like some run up to the show, right? It's like the run of the show and the run up to the show. That's really how you do it. Like you just look at like how TV shows do it to like movies do it. They run up to their event, and even like Live Nation, they do a really good job with all their major like concerts and stuff. You want to run up to your event where you're doing a lot of content. You have your influencers or your key people participating in it, talking about it, tweeting it. You want to basically get the chatter going, right? You want to get some words and some activity going on social media. And I think social media is definitely an art and a science. You have to be data driven, but you have to understand the importance of short form and long form content. And what I mean by that is like, are you telling a story? Are you doing like this week is going to be about this, next week's going to be about this, and it's going to lead up to this big kind of event that you want people to anticipate and make sure they book on their calendar to like watch the event and so on. So I think content marketing is really important, and that comes with a lot of tactical things. You have to schedule out your content. You have to get it done a week before you actually post it on Tuesday. What are you doing on Wednesday? What time are you going to post? When do a lot of your key audience, when are they most active on social media? These are all data points that you can grab yourself and look at, so you can get the most return on your impressions. And the more impressions you get, the more likely people will like it, will retweet it. You can do giveaways. Esports is they love the gaming community loves giveaways. You give away like mobile stuff or graphics cards or you name it, they're going to eat it up. So or in-game points and stuff like that. That's also very helpful. So there's a lot of different strategies and tactics that you can do to kind of give back to your community and reward them. But also like make sure you're running up to your show and building that anticipation and like Kima said, the hype. And I'll let him talk about hype because that's something that he's been doing a lot of.
I mean, really, you've touched on all the major points of leading up to an event. I mean, we like to position major events at least 2 weeks in advance, and then building a story around the talent, like Sujay said. I mean, it's really, he's touched upon the points there. If you can't build a story around the teams or the talent, or and do this too, get really good logos, force them out of the teams, force them out of teams. I'm just a stickler for that. I can't, like when someone gives me something that's hand drawn and I have to cut it out myself, like I'll do it. I'll do it. It pains me to do it, but because my production relies on that, I will literally redraw and then present it to you and be like, "Is this okay for your logo?" And
oh my God, they eat it up. Like,
100% of the time, they will love it. They will love that you even went out of your way, to redo their logo or give them some kind of vectorized logo that they can use forever, and they appreciate that. Especially for teams that are that may not even be known. If you're as a grassroots organization or starting off, many teams that will participate in your tournament, especially $100 or less, will be teams that have just been, like 3 people that just play often, right? And they call themselves something and they don't have any kind of brand exposure. You're their hope. And don't forget that. So when they're telling you, "Hey, this is my team XYZ," it's like, okay, well, let me create your origin story. And that's your job as a TO, especially as a fledgling one, to create those origin stories and tell people about this hidden talent, and then watch them grow from that career, right? But they'll always remember that your initial event was the launch pad. And that's super important. So don't ever let up on the branding. I think I say this almost for everybody, but iterate till it hurts. If you've got another hour left for your production, that's still enough time for you to give it another shot. Make sure that people check in, that your admin team is there and ready to go on the big live day. So that's my advice, especially leading up to all that. Again, the hype train up on social media. Give yourself at least 2 weeks in advance to plan all the content that you're going to be spreading out throughout those days.
Yeah, I think the key word too is virality, and to achieve virality, well, I guess virality is baked into the product. So, and the product either for an event, it either needs to have a strong prize pool, which gets people going, or like you guys are talking about, it has a great story. And it's usually the great events usually are a combination of the two. But I would say making sure the event, at least for online events, making sure the event is accessible. So like the deep links are working correctly. It allows people to get into an event quickly. And that's what we focus on here at Geyser. And I know a lot of mobile games do a really good job with deep linking, getting players exactly where you want them in the game. For games like Brawl Stars, I know the Supercell in particular does a tremendous job at this, getting people into the Clash Royale, Brawl Stars lobbies, exactly where and when you want them. And then I think we're just scratching the surface too on what cloud gaming is going to bring to virality too, because when you can click a link and be able to open up a game without even having it on your device, and we're going to see games that are going to be coming out, hopefully some mid-core and up games eventually, that it's, you shoot them off to 10 of your friends, and then boom, they click a link and they're in the game, in your lobby immediately. That's going to be a game changer for competitive experiences.
Okay. Chris, do you want anything to add on that, or?
I mean, I'm in full agreement on the cloud gaming thing, and that is, we're looking at that as being just something that's going to take mobile to a whole new level, and it includes esports, where titles that are competitive titles. We've seen a lot of those kind of migrate over to mobile, like PUBG, COD, League of Legends. We'll see if the audience kind of follows, particularly in League of Legends. I'm really interested to see how Wild Rift does once that hits. But the ability to play other games, like I don't know if fighting games will ever really. They've tried. It doesn't. I don't know if that one migrates quite all, but just the sheer range of games that you'll be able to play from anywhere, and when that accessibility, which makes mobile great, introduces the scope of games like the entire Xbox library, that's both, I think, competitively and casually gonna be a huge moment for mobile.
Yeah, I do think that's something interesting we could probably talk about on the next panel. But we're getting low on time, so I want each of you to give us final thoughts for the panel. Maybe something you want to reiterate, or something that you wanted to touch on that you haven't touched on yet for the viewers out there. And I guess I'll let Jack go first for this one.
Nothing I really want to reiterate. Are there any? I know YouTube chat had some questions on some of the past panels. I was just, does anyone have any kind of open-ended questions? So I want to go.
Let's see here. Open-ended questions.
How much time we have? 8 minutes, right?
Yeah, about 8 minutes. Yeah.
Someone else can jump in if they want to reiterate.
I mean, honestly, I think for this panel, if you are interested, I mean, you've got to be tuning into this to be interested in any sort of event production at all. I think my lasting thought is that if you're gonna want to do this, you're gonna have the passion to do it, you're gonna have the hunger to do this. But passion and hunger are not a replacement for experience and action. You've got to actually do it. You've got to actually create those powerful case studies so that you can transition and evolve as a group of community organizers. So that's my thought. I mean, it's gonna hurt, but it's gonna hurt good, and you're gonna like it, and you're gonna meet exciting people along the way. So
yeah, I would say the one word I want to leave with is patience. The trend is your friend, And this is really, really important. Like if your mobile esports is not doing well in the US and it's starting to trend the opposite way, like Vainglory, then you can't fight the trend. It doesn't matter how great of a story you tell or how much you contribute. If the game is gonna start dying, it's gonna start dying. And that's the reality that it was really hard for me to really chew, because I love Vainglory and that was the best community I ever was a part of. And the key is like that's why I went to Arena of Valor and Tencent and so on, and Supercell with Clash Royale. Is you want to still support and be contributing to the overall community, but you have to listen to the data, like what is the trend, what is trending, right? And you have to be patient, because like PUBG Mobile is blowing up all around the world. It's slowly growing in the US, but it's not where it needs to be, right? But the player base is promising. Like look at the foundational metrics, right? That's the most important, is how many daily active players does this game have, and how many of those people are in the West. Call of Duty Mobile, right? I just sent like a great feedback, and because I talked with Matt, the GM of Call of Duty Mobile, and he's doing a really good job with like mobile and asking for feedback, reaching out to people, and wanting to improve the mobile experience and mobile esports for that game. And that's a game that has serious traction that I'm just pushing that they need to do something a little bit bigger, because that's the first like multiplayer action game that where North America leads the world in terms of spending and player activity and all that. So there's a lot of things behind the scenes I can't really share here on the talk, but that's a game that has strong foundations, right? Like you want to make sure your game has those strong foundations, and you want to invest and contribute early and kind of build the scene, because when it starts tipping over and explodes like Vainglory did, like Vainglory had so much crazy traction. People love playing. They played like hours a day. They're growing viewership, growing everything, and then bam, the esports then took off because the developer was all in on it. You never know what could happen with the next esports. Wild Rift is coming out, Pokemon multiplayer, who knows where that's going to go, right? There's a lot of different things. A lot of people in the West are very impatient. They think that mobile will never take off and all that. And honestly, that was the case with me. And this is the last thing I kind of leave with my experiences. I was in South Korea back in 1999, and I thought this crazy StarCraft PC esports thing was just crazy and insane. That would only be something in Korea. It would never go to any other, even Asian country or United States. And I left it behind. I stopped playing competitive StarCraft. And then as soon as you know it, 10 years later, that's patience. 10 freaking years later, StarCraft 2 blows up, and then it literally sets the world on fire and makes esports mainstream. It literally makes it mainstream. So mobile esports, you need to have patience, but the money is there, the player base is there. That's the two most important things I'll tell you right now. It makes more money than PC and console, and it definitely gets more viewership than PC and console, minus League of Legends. And I can tell you right now, very clear based on the data I've looked at, mobile is killing it in terms of growth, and it's only a matter of time before it gets recognized in the West. And I think that's probably going to be Wild Rift or Call of Duty Mobile. These brand IPs that a lot of people respect in the West, and they're not looking like, oh, this is some Chinese game kind of thing, right?
And we have Apex Legends too.
Yeah, Apex Legends Mobile is coming out later, so you could see something start to build, but it'll take time. So you're gonna have to have patience, but that means also like don't try to join FaZe right off the bat or whatever. Like that's not gonna happen. You gotta start small, So work with like other work. It's okay to work in console or PC esports. Like Pima said, get the freaking experience. Get the experience, okay? You don't have to stick it to mobile only. Get the experience everywhere, because that's going to be transferable within the entire esports industry. And you don't want to sell yourself short. Just build your experience and invest in yourself. And one thing will lead to another.
Amazing, Chris. Final thoughts?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, like gaming is gaming. I mean, the platform, they have their unique audiences and aspects of how one actually controls the game, but ultimately, it's all one kind of ecosystem and all one fan base. So, for me, it's being from the side that I'm on, which is kind of the more sponsor and kind of the creative side of how do we want our event to run. It's for us as a company, it's about the people. Like it's about the people that are running it. It's about the people that are participating. It's about the people behind the scenes that in front of the camera and behind. And I'm just so grateful to have formed a relationship with the people that we have. To have Powerbank take a chance on us, not only as a brand and a company, but to put his name behind our event was massive and a blessing. So PB, if you're watching this, thank you. Win, who is his right hand. That is, I mean, I met Win, when we were looking at Omelet Arcade to be our platform for tournaments, and his talent and professionalism was immediately evident. So, we're really just lucky and privileged to be working with the people that we are, and the players that have come to participate, pros and casuals alike. Without people showing up to fill the lobby, it's it's there's no event. So and part of that is taking a chance on us, on our products, and finding value in them, and what they bring to the mobile gaming experience, how it improves it, and then how it puts them in a potentially better position to win in our events. And I wanted to save one person for last, because this person is probably one of the most unless you're in our Discord, she is one of the most unheralded people that is so critical to what we're doing, and that's Brandy, and she goes by Brandy Gono Frieza on Twitter. She's kind of our server, our Discord mom. She keeps people in order. She keeps people, polite, and she does it with such class and such love towards the community, that especially as a weekly tournament, there's a whole community that's there.
Mhm.
That's part of having an ongoing event, is that they're always there. They're just waiting from week to week, and there's always interactions at all times of day and night, in between the events. And so to help manage that, and keep it a place of positivity, to help people run games in between, is a big chore. And I just want to thank Brandy for what she does for us.
Any last final thoughts, Jack?
Yeah.
As we close out the
So
panel?
yeah, events, just events of the heart of our foundation of gaming esports. There's always going to be opportunity for people watching this. Game developers, game publishers, they need these events. Otherwise, the community dies. When your community dies, your game becomes obsolete. So there's always opportunity. Events are always going to be around in some form or another. So just keep that in mind.
Amazing. Well, thank you guys so much for being on the Mobile Esports Event Production panel. Shout out to all of you guys. Great information coming in. There's Matt.
Wow, another killer panel. Thank you guys so much. So much amazing information that was shared. Sweet J, you're a genius, man. Rapid fire information on that. Kima, great to hear the community perspective. Also, really appreciate all the work that Mobile Gaming Core is doing in the scene, and so awesome to share that perspective as well, Chris. And Jack, obviously someone I've known for a long time. Always love getting you involved and sharing stuff from the tech perspective as well, and enabling community organizers. So an incredible panel. Thank you guys so much. We're going to transition into the future of mobile esports. So Sweet J, stick around. You'll be joining us on this next one as well. We've got Joao about to join. So Jack, Kima, and Chris, thank you so much. What an incredible
Thank you, guys.
edition.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Legacy Matt, thanks so much
care.
for doing this.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
Bye.
All right, we're switching people out and in. We've got Joao back. I believe he's getting plugged in. Let me know when he connects here. There we go. How are you, Joao? Welcome back.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Great. I'm really good. What about you guys? Everything right?
Fantastic.
We're great. We've had two amazing panels so far, and excited to end on a high note here with the future. So
One more to come. Let's go.
absolutely. So we are also going to be joined by Super Soro, who's the CEO of Cream Royale Betis. So what an amazing fountain of knowledge and stuff from his perspective as well. So can't wait to dive in there. But yeah, Legacy, maybe we can kind of get started a little bit, and it looks like we got Super Soro right here.
Oh, beautiful.
Diego, welcome. Thank you for joining us, man.
Hello, how are you?
Excellent. Excited to talk about the future here, dude.
Amazing. So welcome to the final panel of the Mobile Esports Career Expo. Sad to see it go, but we're going to end it with a bang. This is the most important panel, I feel like, for any landscape in the mobile space here. So like we did in the last one, I want everyone to start by introducing yourself and the impact that you made in the mobile industry. We'll start with Matt on this one.
Sure. So I am Matt Rutledge. I go by Mobile Matt, and I've been in the mobile sports industry for 4 or 5 years now. Really fortunate to have been around from the very beginning with Clash Royale. At that time, I was actually working as an entrepreneur to be able to start a company in the esports industry, and we were the first endemic sponsor of that game. So really got to experiment with some fun marketing campaigns. We're the first to do tournaments on YouTube and live streaming, and also started an esports organization where we were the first to contract pro players and hold structured practices, and had a competitive team. Farm system of about 100 players, and worked really hard to be able to help grow that game from a grassroots level. Worked alongside Supercell to kind of be a point of contact for pain points for community members or players. And when it came time for the Clash Royale League to roll out, I was really fortunate to connect with Jason Lake and Complexity Gaming. Was able to join them as director of mobile, where I still am, to be able to lead mobile gaming initiatives and position us at the forefront of this really growing industry. It is obviously evolving really rapidly, which I'm sure that we're going to dive into a lot on this panel. So just to be in a position where I can, really focus full time on everything that's happening in the scene has been, such a blessing. So I owe Complexity Gaming a lot for where I am. Also, just kind of personally love building stuff. Obviously, we have this Mobile Esports Career Expo. So I just, as an entrepreneur, I just like creating things and try to focus on stuff that I think is going to make an impact to the scene overall. So really, really happy with what we've been able to do to help bring some experts on, like everybody else on this panel, and share some insights with people in this industry, especially in regards to how they can turn this into a long-term career for themselves. So that's my story in a nutshell.
Beautiful. You love to hear it. We'll go next to Super Soro.
Hi, yeah, I'm Diego Soro. I'm serial entrepreneur. I'm a mobile gamer. I started with Clash of Clans many years ago. And 3 years ago, I started with creating Cream Esports, esports organization based in Spain and Latin America, that has been integrated into Real Betis. That is a football club in Spain, and it's a multi-gaming esports club. We are competing in League of Legends, Counter-Strike, and in some mobile games also, like Clash Royale. We are in the Clash Royale League. We have been playing in PUBG Mobile, in Free Fire in Latin America, in the finals in Thailand, for instance, in Arena of Valor. So we know very well how to engage fans between the mobile games, and it's a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Beautiful, beautiful. Joao from Ints.
Yeah, hey everyone. It's really nice to be here again. So my name is João. Yeah, I'm a problem solver here, and in Brazil, I'm actually the head of innovation in mobile esports at INTZ. It's the biggest esports organization from Latin America here. And in the last years, I've been managing some startups and technology companies from Brazil and from USA. And with this experience, that now I help INTZ to grow from a business perspective and manage all the operations and strategic KPIs from 6 top tier teams for mobile. And we have here live Free Fire teams, Brawl Stars teams, Clash Royale, Clash of Clans, and other titles.
Awesome, amazing. And then last but not least, Suje.
Oh, it's me there. Hey, everybody. I'm Jeff Sujan Shout, a CEO founder of Game Gather. So I've been kind of a ground zero for mobile esports. I started with Vainglory as a professional player. I kind of did a lot of different roles. I was the head of biz dev, competitive, a co-founder of Hammers Esports, worked at Immortals as GM head of mobile at Team Liquid, and also as a mobile esports consultant at TSM. Also was at the Asia Games. I hosted the mobile esports session of the Asia Games in 2018. I was also at the World Cyber Games hosting the Honor of Kings of 2019. I took my team and competed in the Beijing International Honor of Kings Championship Cup back in 2018. So I've done a lot. Worked at Supercell, Red Bull Esports, Super League Gaming, Super Evo Megacorp, all within kind of the, as an esports commentator, as a pro player, Clash Royale, Arena of Valor, Honor of Kings, Vainglory, and so on. So yeah, it's been an awesome journey for mobile, and I can't wait to talk about this panel. It's one of my favorite topics actually to discuss. So I can't wait to share kind of the insights of what I've seen the past decade, and now kind of extrapolating into the future decade, and also talk about like where mobile is right now and why that is going to be an exciting next decade for all the entire mobile esports industry.
I love that you bring that up because that's literally the first open-ended question I want to throw out there. What are your expectations for mobile esports future? So do you want to start us off with that one then, Jeff?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is to understand like what's happening now to kind of project into the future. If you look at all of the data and all of the reports, like App Annie has already projected mobile, which I think it will happen, is going to be a $100 billion industry, which is 25% more than PC and console put together, right? I think that's very, very important. That's foundationally very important. Of course, not all of that 100 billion is all mobile esports games, but the data is very promising. If you look at like Subway Surfers, right, in terms of downloads, this game has been downloaded 2.7 billion times the past decade, with the past 10 years. But what games are beating Subway Surfer in terms of downloads? Free Fire and PUBG Mobile have gotten more downloads than Subway Surfer in all of 2019. So this is a recent trend, right? And it's continuing to get more downloads even in 2020. And what's also more important too is PUBG Mobile makes more money and has more monthly active users than Candy Crush. So please don't bring up Candy Crush when I talk about mobile esports again. So, and what's more important, what's causing this trend and important for everyone to understand that's not familiar with mobile esports is these core console level or PC level 2 games are being ported to mobile, and they're being done amazingly well by companies like Tencent, Supercell, and so on. Like these are like console level quality games. Like Garena, right, built Free Fire. It's a battle royale on the phone. Has 80 million daily active users. So I'm sure INTZ can talk a little bit more of that once he gets his turn to talk about Free Fire. But 80 million daily active users, like that's massive. Honor of Kings, right, in China, just China has peaks at 100 million daily active users. So from a trend perspective, that's more. Daily players of Honor of Kings is more than all of the active players of League of Legends. And League is the largest PC game in the world, right? That's more than the entire active player base of League. And I think people need to understand like where this is going to head. Like the numbers and the data and the consumer behaviors show that. And what's the last thing I want to talk about here as an introduction is you look at the smartphone penetration rate. This is very underestimated and not talked about. Like China is at 60%. And people think about like everyone on mobile is in China. Like no, that like smartphone penetration has not reached where it needs to reach in China yet. The US is at 80%, right? Smartphone penetration. You look at countries like Vietnam, 45%, and they already have a massive mobile esports scene that's bigger than their PC esports. And just so you know, PC esports used to be very massive in all these Southeast Asia countries. In Brazil as well, PC esports was massive. Brazil, has a 45% smartphone penetration rate. Once that all reaches 80-90%, mobile is going to literally grow more than fivefold. And that's when I make a very bullish prediction that in 5 years, mobile esports will have more viewers. It already has more players. Will have more viewers than both console and PC esports put together worldwide.
Okay, Matt.
Yeah, and listen, I'm really glad that Jeff started off with that because it is important to kind of get a basis of where we are now before we can kind of properly project where we're going. So all of that is absolutely just spot on. And by the way, I got to give Jeff some credit here. If you're not following him on Twitter, make sure that you do. I believe the handle is at. Am I correct with that?
Yeah,
because he's one of these people.
Yeah.
S. Generous, he's one of these people that is just so informative in the information that he's putting out to the public. And honestly, I think that is one of the most important things right now that the industry needs is just more awareness of what's happening in the scene. So definitely want to check him out. I'll say, he covered a lot of great points. I'll add on to that just with reinforcing that we are kind of in this transition stage where mobile gaming as a category is transitioning from casual to competitive. And that ends up bringing up these really practical things, challenges for us in the mobile sports industry as we have to operate, because right now we're operating in a competition-based industry, but we have to appeal to a casual audience. And that becomes very nuanced in how you become sustainable in this industry, because you have to be able to engage these fans and bring them in, turn them into, things that are, long-term value. Sorry, my words are like not coming to me, but what I mean to say is just that it's very difficult for a casual fan to really wrap around competitive storylines and be engaged for the long term. Right now, that's like the biggest challenge that I think the mobile esports industry faces. But what is really encouraging is that if you look at all the areas of the industry, there's tons of progress being made, right? Jeff mentioned that the games themselves are becoming more competitive. So we can kind of put the Candy Crush era behind us and start looking toward competitive multiplayer games. That's great. The tech itself is also improving. So while smartphone penetration rates are going up, what's also important is that the games are being optimized optimized for lower end devices. So it's kind of like being solved at two different angles, right? And that's how Free Fire obviously is becoming what it is now. So it's really, really encouraging. And I think we're also seeing a trend where mobile publishers are starting to recognize the opportunities in front of themselves with esports as far as how to engage their player base. So there's been a ton of progress along those lines as well. So definitely from an industry perspective, we're all very encouraged and optimistic for the future. But I think also very practically, the industry is getting a lot more smart about how they're operating and learning a lot along the way. So definitely a good time to be in mobile esports.
Absolutely. Diego, I would love for you and Joao to speak on the international level, because the region specific is very important too. So if you guys want to touch on that as well.
Yes, well, I would say that yes. I mean, the trend is clear. Is that mobile games are growing so much faster than the PC games and so on, and this is very important in order to engage the fans, the people. The people needs to understand how to play a game and a game. So this is a very important issue, no? But yet. Regarding the smartphones, not in every country the smartphone is the high quality smartphone and so on. And this is actually why Free Fire has been maybe the main game in Latin America, is because not all the people has a very high level smartphone. So this is actually the challenge for many countries. In Europe, for instance, the Free Fire in Spain. Nobody is playing Free Fire. They play PUBG Mobile. But in Latin America is in the opposite way. So it's very important to understand that the penetration of smartphones is not the same in all the regions, and not the quality of the smartphone is not the same. So the trend is clear, but when in every country we will achieve this, maybe it's in 10 years, 5 years, something like that. But the trend is that for sure, mobile esports will be a specific market here.
Beautiful.
Yeah, you brought great ideas, Diego, and thanks. From my side, when I talk about mobile sports, and it's really important to know that for emerging markets, accessibility is king, and I really think this may be part of in the strategy for every mobile game publisher from now to the future. And of course, we cannot talk about the future of mobile sports without talking about this COVID-19 situation, and how did this isolation made a lot of people start watching more esports content and watching even more mobile esports itself. So there's a lot of points I would like to talk about, but when we talk about an international view, yes, Diego is completely right. Free Fire, it's crushing it, but it's all about accessibility, and I think this is gonna be exactly like how Matt said. It's gonna be a strategy from every publisher when it aims the Brazilian, Latin American market, and etc. But there's a lot of things maybe changing, and a lot of barriers will go down even with the coming of the 5G technology, and we can talk about that too.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about the accessibility. I know in the Western, if you're stuck in the Western bubble, you think like, oh, poor people play mobile esports. It's a very powerful narrative, and I just want to, take a little dump on it real quick. What's important is like I was in PC esports in the very beginning in StarCraft, and if you look at the beginnings of PC esports, it's about an underserved population that wants access to multiplayer like social gaming, right? In South Korea, it was the poor students of South Korea that formed StarCraft and made it what it, and because it got traction with poor people in South Korea, it became what it is. And where rich people, everyone plays it because the population plays it, the masses play it. You look at Brazil, right? They invested in PC cafes, internet PC cafes. It provided internet access to 60% of that population, and CSGO blew up. Right? That is the most important thing to understand. It's not about the poor. It's about how are you serving the underserved. And that's what mobile is doing that PC and console is not doing. So you look around the world in India, Southeast Asia, in Brazil, Southeast Asia, Brazil, by the way, had massive PC esports communities, by the way. Like there's more players of League in Southeast Asia, in Vietnam, a country that has 100 million people, than the United States, which has 320 million people. There's more people that play League in Vietnam than the United States. So I think it's very important to understand that it's not about the narrative, oh, they're poor, they're kind of forced to play mobile. No, it's because they have the accessibility and we're serving them. We're giving them a great game, like Matt said, a quality game that they can play with their friends, a multiplayer core like AAA game on their smartphone. I think that's an amazing thing to celebrate, right? And not kind of look down upon. And if you look down upon it, you're going to misunderstand the story and the narrative that's shifting now, where mobile will dominate and already is in terms of player and spend because of that reason. There's an entirely underserved population that now has been now accessing multiplayer online gaming, right? You look at PC esports, PC cafes that provided that to the entire country's population, Brazil, South Korea, China. You look today, right? I just worked on an article with Tencent directly, and 80% of the female players that play Honor of Kings are first-time mobile players. This is their first time touching and playing a multiplayer online battle arena game ever. They're never going to be League players on PC, right? But they're going to play the mobile game, and now this game has 200 million monthly players, and there's a lot of rich people playing that game too. And you look at like QQ Speed, like Rolls-Royce did a partnership with QQ Speed on mobile. Not any other PC game. They could have went to League or any other game, but they chose a mobile game, QQ Speed, because how popular it is and the demographics, and I think that's really important to understand is like, once you understand that it's just serving an underserved population, it gets massive traction. It becomes the trend, and the trend is your friend, right? And then everyone starts jumping on it because the entire population, the entire country is behind it. And then you can't stop the momentum. So the West is looking for that moment, right? This is what I call like that moment in the West. We don't know what game's going to do it, but a game will. And once that happens, it'll be like the StarCraft 2 era all over again, where StarCraft 2 blew up the esports scene in the United States.
I think that's actually probably the most asked question that we probably get is, when is that actually going to happen, right? Like, when is there going to be a game that just takes over in the West, to the extent that we see it in specific regions around the world? I'd actually love to throw it back to each of you guys. What do you think it's going to take for one mobile esport to really take over in the North American or European markets?
In the European market, I don't have the answer, but yes, in Latin America. For instance, in Latin America, I have to say that we are playing in Counter-Strike in the first division of Brazil, in the first division of Mexico in League of Legends, and the metrics in Free Fire or in Clash Royale are even better than some PC games. So this is actually what is happening. So what is going to happen in North America, in Europe, I don't know. But once the performance of the mobile phones will be higher in comparison with PC, the PC capabilities and so on, I'm sure that the mobile phones, the mobile games will have the same traction and metrics than PC games. Sure.
My point of view about this is that actually, okay, we actually don't know the right answer, but maybe who has a great potential and a great IP, for example, the Call of Duty with the Call of Duty League and Apex Legends, some games that has great names in in other PC games, maybe has this potential to take this audience in North America, maybe. But I'm really looking forward to what is coming to happen about code mobile, and that's why I'm talking about this. Really strong IPs maybe will build the new strong competitive scene for mobile.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in the West were really hopeful that Call of Duty Mobile would be that one that would really take over. And yet here we are, a couple months away from being a year after the game's been released. And, we're still waiting on large esports broadcasts to roll out. So I definitely still think that there's a massive chance for that to be the one that really unlocks it in the West. Obviously, Wild Rift is going to be launching in a matter of months as well. And another title that is just massively, ingrained in the Western culture with a massive brand and IP. So definitely, it seems like that's going to be one of the main things that's going to allow titles to differentiate, is when you already have like a relationship with your audience, right? Because League of Legends is already so massively popular. Because one of the realities right now is that there's more great mobile games now than ever before. And so even though you have a perfectly built game and it's great for esports and allows for beautiful narratives and storylines through competition, you still have to be able to stand out and actually drive downloads for your title. And one of the ways, obviously, to do that is through a strong brand and an IP. So definitely a lot of us have our eyes on Wild Rift and have high expectations for that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I cannot wait for that game to launch.
Yeah, I have a lot of faith in Rod Riff, and like Matt said, it's definitely a branding thing. I think a lot of Westerners like they have a lot of brand affinity. Call of Duty, reached 100 million downloads in a week, and then 250 million downloads within 8 months. With the majority of those downloads, or a little over 30%, is North America. And I play a lot of Call of Duty Mobile, like every day actually. I'm like master in like both BR rank and multiplayer rank, and then Arena of Valor is another game I'm like master tier, and I still play a lot. I just love mobile gaming in general. And what I'm seeing anecdotally is there's a lot of people that play Call of Duty, all different age ranges. I see people who are like 40, 30. It's great to see like how diverse the mobile kind of demographic is for Call of Duty, and I'm willing to bet that it's probably skewing both very young. I meet a lot of kids on there, which is a really fun experience, and then there's a lot of like older people that play it too, and this is a game that I think has a lot of potential because of, again, the foundation of the game. The active player base within the United States is very, very high, like easily probably in the tens of millions, I would say. And how much money it's making in the United States. And I think that, this has a lot of potential to become a very viable, sustainable mobile esports in the West. Again, these are just serving underserved people, right? The people that no longer have the time to like purchase a console or PC, but they have their mobile phones and they want to enjoy like Call of Duty competitive gaming again. And mobile is so easy. Like I open up the game, I'm in a game in like 20 seconds, right? And then a lot of young kids, they grow up with a smartphone in the United States. They grow up with smartphones, and they don't grow up, not everyone grows up with a console, right? Or a PC for that matter.
Yeah.
And they start gaming on their smartphone first. So that could explain why when Call of Duty Mobile launched, the most downloads came from the United States. I mean, this is the first ever for any mobile multiplayer action game that I've heard of, and that's just amazing. And I think Wild Rift may tell us a similar story, where Wild Rift may introduce, like Honor of Kings has done in China, where Wild Rift will introduce a lot more people to League of Legends. They have never, ever touched or heard of League of Legends, right? Again, the number I want to give you is 80% of females of Honor of Kings, first time ever they played a mobile MOBA. And then or a mobile game. I mean, they never touched a PC game. And then for the male, it's about 50%. So half of the male population that plays Honor of Kings has never touched a MOBA before Honor of Kings. I think that's really important. Like people think like the esports and the gaming community is just the current size of like console PC, but you have to think about the rest, the next billion users are smartphone users. You have to think about the number of people who have not started playing multiplayer action games on mobile or whatever, right? Once you have that first online multiplayer action game experience, you're going to get hooked. And that's literally how esports started. Like you have to think about the potential there. Like how many people in the United States have not experienced playing an online multiplayer game? Like all of them probably play like single player puzzle games or whatever, but they have not really played a competitive online multiplayer game. And mobile can introduce them to that experience, and it's going to grow the entire pie.
Yeah, I have one last point about that, because I think it's awesome that you guys brought the Wide Rift thing here, because the audience transition for this new game, it's gonna be it's gonna be easier from other titles. Why I'm telling you this because the last month I posted a article in LinkedIn that I was talking about the esports, mobile esports hours watched in all over the world. And if you see the top two mobile teams that has more esports watched in mobile, it's two mobile games. It's we are talking about Mobile Legends and we are talking about Arena of Valor. So okay, these guys know how to play that. These guys know that. And if you bring this audience with any strong IP that it's coming from a League of Legends and Riot Games, we all know that they know how to build a competitive scene. Yeah, I think it has a lot of potential in the future.
Let me just comment a couple of things. The first is regarding that it's not the same casual gamers with esports, and we have to differentiate this. Okay, so because for instance we are talking about Call of Duty Mobile, and even in Spain Call of Duty has death in the competitive scene. The esport is not I mean there are not leagues in Spain, and Call of Duty, I mean, it's a very important game. But in Spain or even Latin America, there are not very important leagues there. So is Blizzard going to and here we have to introduce that the power of the publisher. I mean, the publisher has to create those leagues and those competitive scene. Blizzard hasn't be capable to make this competitive scene in Spain in Call of Duty. Is going to be capable to do it in the mobile game? Not sure about that. Okay, so this is my first thought. And the second one is which are the main mobile games? Those that are just a transition of a PC game to mobile game, or a game made for mobile gamers. And here for me it's the main the main strength of Clash Royale. Clash Royale it's a game made just for mobile gamers. Is just do it for that, and it's not a PC game made in a smartphone. So I think that in order to everybody's talking about the wheel drift and so on, but Arena of Valor in Spain or even in Europe hasn't the metrics. So here is where the publisher has the power to make this competitive scene and to grow the views and so on. So this is my thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to add on the viewership, and I think most people don't realize this, but the top 10 most watched games on YouTube in 2019, the whole entire year, number 1 was Fortnite, 2 was Garena Free Fire, PUBG Mobile League, PUBG, Brawl Stars, Mobile Legends. Okay, those are the top 7. And then out of the top 7, right? If you just look at the top 7 games that are esports games, 4 out of the top 7 most watched games on YouTube are mobile games. Right? Mm-hmm. That's really important to understand. Like, it has completely shifted. If you go back 5 years, none of these mobile games would be on there. It would be all PC console games, right? And then now, as of today, so mobile is no longer the future. It is here. It is the present. So I want to emphasize that with everyone. It's really important to understand, like, 4 out of the top 7 most watched games on YouTube are mobile esports games. PUBG Mobile is number 3, and PUBG PC is sitting at number 5. It has more viewership than PUBG because, like, the player base is there, right? Of course, the West is not as strong because they have, access to console and PC and so on. But again, there's a lot of underserved people in these populations across a lot of these countries that will start to embrace mobile esports. And once they get that and they play with their friends and it becomes more of a social activity, a social pastime, then mobile is going to explode. Like I've been all over Southeast Asia, Brazil, China, and so on. And mobile is very social. I mean, I went to a club in Beijing. This is an anecdotal thing. And they were playing the Chinese version of PUBG Mobile at a club. Like, it was insane. Like, these are one of the most popular clubs in the world. And that's how cool and social mobile has become, right? Will the United States get there? I have no idea. Maybe, I don't know. We can't question that. But when it reaches that status where it's mainstream culture, where, like, these rich people and everyone starts playing it, not just like the underserved populations, where it becomes like a massive trend, then it becomes like the cool thing to do, right? And that's exactly what happened in China and Southeast Asia, where if you play mobile games, you're a gamer. You're cool like the PC gamers are. There's no kind of difference in community or whatever that we have this weird kind of block in the West. And I think that until we conquer that in the Western hemisphere, then mobile will continue to kind of be suppressed. But I think these brands will break that. Like Call of Duty already is breaking that mold. Wild Rift, I think, will do an amazing job as well. League of Legends Wild Rift, and of course Apex Legends Mobile, that's coming out later.
Matt?
I mean, listen, that's one of my favorite stats to point out when people are skeptical of mobile as a platform. There's obviously a stigma in this industry. We've all, seen it or had to fight through it at some stage in our careers. And some of the parts of that stigma are true. Some are misconceptions, but what's, I think, the important thing to point out is that the growth of mobile esports is just inevitable. And that's because mobile gaming as a category is just so convenient and accessible and social that it doesn't really matter what people that are playing on PC think of what our passion is, you know? So this is the reality of the situation, is that mobile gaming is such a cultural phenomenon. And we especially see that in some regions like Brazil, where literally everybody on the streets playing the game with their friends. You know, you're playing the game on the bus to school, you're playing at school, you're playing after school with your friends. And, you know, also if you're a pro in that esport, all the celebrities in the country are taking selfies with you, you know, because you're like, frankly, bigger than they are to some extent. So it's definitely an incredible phenomenon that is already in motion, and it shows no signs of stopping. So I would actually, I know Legacy that you've had some other questions prepared. I don't want to talk over anything that you wanted to structure.
This is beautiful
panel,
because you guys are having a great organic discussion, and I don't really need to do anything.
I love it, man. Yeah.
But yes, we did talk about the past. We talked about states of the game, states of devices, states of development. What can we learn if Sui J is going to say the future is now? What can we learn from the past, from the more mature, and we'll go 5 to 10 years ago, the more mature PC and console esports, to take what can mobile learn from that to have less failures and more successes in the future? And I think Jeff, you've actually done an article on that. I'll be honest.
So I've definitely been a PC gamer, and I remember, you know, 20 years ago, I'm dating myself. People made fun of me, like, StarCraft, what are you playing, Warcraft? Like, what is this? Like, you're a nerd. You're you know, it wasn't mainstream. It was like you're like a closet basement kind of guy playing games, and you're just not. It wasn't attractive, right? And now the narrative completely changed because of how esports has been presented, and the hype and the investment. It's now a cool factor in gaming is now completely gone mainstream. And I think mobile is now facing that same kind of social identity challenges. It's a term called social identity, where, you know, traditional sports people versus PC esports people, you know, the difference is the physical. So what people tend to do when they get stuck in these bubbles is they focus on the differences and they never focus on the similarities, right? So traditional sports people stop focusing on the physical aspects of esports, but focus on the similarities, the spirit of competition, the teamwork, the high level plays, the cerebral, the intellect, you know, all these things that are very similar in sports that are seen in esports. If they focus on the similarities, we will not be bickering and fighting about, you know, esports is not sports and all this BS, right? The same thing with mobile. It's the same BS that I'm hearing from PC esports people. They're super guilty of this. They're like, mobile's not real gamers. They're Candy Crush gamers, or they're female gamers. That's another thing that really irritates me too, when they don't understand, like, it is the same. Like a smartphone is literally a PC in your hand. You know, they run chips that are processor RAMs, all the same things, and it's competitive as well. There's a lot of teamwork, there's a lot of communication, and the biggest thing that people miss is it's very social. Like PUBG Mobile in India, like over 40% of people that play PUBG Mobile talk about non-PUBG Mobile things. They talk about life and all that, similar to Fortnite. People on PC, they just hang on Fortnite because it's like their third place, and they're hanging out to talk with their friends. And then competition is a natural part of any multiplayer action game. So when it comes to mobile, that narrative is starting to change too, right? Like PC esports, it changed, right? PC esports was a joke in the United States like 20 years ago, but now mobile is starting to change. And that inflection point, I don't know when that's going to happen, but I know it will happen. Because I'm seeing a lot of traction in mobile esports, like all of the mobile communities of Call of Duty, you know, Vainglory at one point, Critical Ops. There's so many mobile games that have a lot of traction in the West, but they need help, like how Diego is saying, from the publisher. Like, you gotta invest in this community. They're a niche, and the riches are in the freaking niches. Okay, the niches become mainstream, and that's when you get riches, right? So like, publishers need to understand that, like, mobile is the trend. Like, stop overly focusing on PC too much. Get ported to mobile, Apex Legends, all this, and then get an esports scene going for it. It doesn't have to compete with your PC. It's going to grow the overall pie. It's not going to take away viewers or any of that junk that they're thinking about. It's going to grow the entire esports pie. And I think that's a big mental model that needs to shift in the West. And that's the biggest thing I'm frustrated when I talk to panels, to people at like high level organizations, is they're not mobile gamers like we are, or like I am. So they don't understand the passion that people had for mobile gaming. It's not like I still play PC, right? It's not that we're different. We love playing on mobile gamings, because that is like what our social life and our identity is about. And I think that's very important to understand. And once that happens and we invest in this community and we grow it, it's going to go mainstream, and all of a sudden it becomes cool, like we see in Brazil, we see in China, we see in Southeast Asia. I can tell you right now, in China, Southeast Asia, and Brazil, everyone made fun of mobile esports gamers in the very beginning. I can tell you right now, they made fun of them. There is the same thing that happened in the West until it reaches a certain critical mass, and then bam, once the masses like show the world that, hey, mobile esports is here to stay, everyone is going to jump on that bandwagon, because a lot of people are bandwagon hype people that want to jump on the train once it gets going.
Joao, you want to touch on that as well?
Yes. It's really good to think about what we can learn from PC games and all this stuff, but I think we have some different challenges here. It's exactly like we just heard right now. We have, but even if we have another challenge, even with the people needs to know that mobile gamers, mobile esports is an esport. We have a bigger platform right now than maybe 20 years ago. But for example, we have a lot of more content creators. We have a lot of more games. Yes, and for example, more than 98% for the mobile esports hours watched in the last years was happened in YouTube. And a lot of content creators are there as well. So we have to show the people, we have to show these companies that mobile esports is something serious. We have to show the publishers that mobile esports has a lot of potential, a lot of numbers. It is already happening. It's a lot of easier to see that in Brazil and other regions, just like we heard right now. But no, mobile sports is not only the future. It's here. I love this phrase. So it's happening, and I think now we have different challenges, but we have an easier way to show that for all over the world. We have that technology helping us with that. So content creators, let's go. Publisher, let's go. And all the players that are here has a really great part of it.
Diego?
Yeah, well, my thought is that mobile games are the future, but we have to say that PC games, League of Legends, Counter-Strike, are games that have been here during the last 20 years. And mobile games are very mature in this way, in this sense, because, for instance, Clash Royale or these kind of games just have 5 years. So what is going to happen in the future? Are those games going to be alive in the future? And to do it, we have to create consolidate the competitive scene. And this is what I have been saying, that the publishers should implicate in order to consolidate this. This is why, in my opinion, Supercell with the Clash Royale League has been doing a very good job. And I don't see, Free Fire with Garena also in Latin America, but I don't see this in Call of Duty. I don't see this in PUBG Mobile. So I think that in order to consolidate the games, we have to consolidate the esports scene, and this is why I don't know what is going to happen in the next 5 years, which are the games that will consolidate in the 5-10 years, because from my point of view, the publisher is critical for that.
I'd love to actually tack one talking point onto that, which is one of the biggest strengths that mobile has is that we're actually playing these games on the same platform that is our primary device for interacting on social media platforms. There are so many mobile first social platforms and mobile first technologies that just align so well with gaming as in addition to it. And I think that's going to be one of the things that really encourages publishers, to Diego's point, to really lean into mobile esports because of the ability to share content and engage socially with it outside of the game. So I actually really love that. I think that publishers, for the most part, are really metrics based and KPI based and care about stuff like that. And so I think anecdotally, we've seen progress from publishers that are already running mobile esports in order to really streamline operations and lean into things. But also long term, we're seeing more publishers that have a history of PC and console based esports operations now hopping into mobile that will be bringing that as well. And then also just because of how much mobile esports seems to have ripple effects on social media platforms, especially mobile first ones like Instagram, TikTok. I think that's going to cause a really open gate for mobile esports in the future as well.
Yeah, and I want to add on like what Diego was saying. Like, are these mobile games going to stay long term? Like League of Legends is a game that's 10 years old. Counter-Strike, CS:GO, I used to play that 20 years ago, and it was like the very beginning. That was a lot of fun. And if you think about like what's happening now, and you look at like games as a service, right? Like League of Legends, Counter-Strike Go, you're seeing mobile, and from a product standpoint, this is why I believe the long-term longevity is going to be there. From a product standpoint, mobile is killing PC console. What I mean by that is not like the graphics or whatever. It's the quality of like the content, the updates, and the product. Like PUBG Mobile, I can unequivocally say is a better product than PUBG PC. No offense. Like I'm not talking about like the game mechanics and mouse and keyboard, but the way that the developers have been focusing on releasing content, engaging users, driving revenue, driving events, driving community, driving esports. They've done a fantastic job. That team works their butt off, and that's what gives me a lot of motivation. Honor of Kings is just killing it in China. Like the mobile dev team are executing faster. They're showing that they're getting more traction. They're driving more daily active engagement, and they're doing it the right way where it's not like a pay to win model, right? This pay to win is no longer like what mobile is about anymore. And that's another thing, a stigma that the West needs to let go of. Like, it's not about pay to win. It's about engagement and daily active users. And that's what drives revenue, is because it's now a part of their social identity, and they love the game, so they buy all these cool skins and all this stuff. We're seeing that implement, like the battle pass was implemented in Honor of Kings and PUBG Mobile, and it drove revenue like crazy. So like these mobile devs, especially Tencent, are just masters of like understanding how to build an amazing product. And that's really important to understand. Like mobile hardware and software has reached to the point where it has, like PC has, right? And now the gaming environment and the gaming experience on a smartphone is amazing with a very solid product roadmap where they're driving engagement, they're growing users, and the game is not dying after a year, right? These games have survived for 2-3 years and making more revenue than they ever have before. I mean, that is like 3 years for any mobile game to still be alive and have an esports is very, very like Mobile Legends is going to continue to go strong. Arena of Valor in Southeast Asia, right? Honor of Kings, all these games are more than 3 years old. Some games are 5 years old, right? And that is promising. That's something you don't see in mobile. Mobile is like a gaming in general is like a hit and run business, but now it's transitioning to more of franchise, IP, and long-term driven like games as a service business like League and Counter-Strike Go. And we're seeing that same business model taken inspiration from PC and then put into mobile, and we're seeing the same effects. Because again, I want to emphasize, mobile is a PC in your pocket. And once people understand that, you're going to see the same trends come to mobile like it has happened in PC, and it's really not that much different.
Fully agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a point about that right here. Always when I think about a PC sports or mobile sports, I brought main points here that okay, maybe it's so important that the publisher establish a competitive scene because at INTZ, one of the main points when we got a new title or when we talk about in the future mobile sports is the potential of becoming a franchising system. So it's really important for us, and all this people watching and this bigger audience, it's bringing us a lot of bigger non-endemic branding sponsoring, especially our mobile teams. And there's a lot of things that we are the biggest, for example, champions from League of Legends, a PC game here at Brazil, but we are bringing the data-driven decisions tools to mobile esports right now. So, for example, in League of Legends, we have some great startups that helps with competitive data analysis, and they are raising a lot of venture capital right now. So we are bringing these professional stuff for mobile spots as well. So franchising system, bigger sponsors with bigger audience and data-driven decisions is something, some points that I would like to talk about the future or even the present of mobile spots.
I like that you also brought up the franchising, because franchising in mobile is something that's still kind of relatively new. I know Clash Royale has done it. Do you feel like that changes the competitive landscape then as well? Like, do you want to get in a game that you think is going to get franchised, or do you still want to play like your AAA titles that you still are really passionate about?
Yeah, can I tell you that?
Yes.
Franchising system here, it's not the only point. We really saw the potential for this, but in other hand, we look at the casual players or mid-core players potential in the number of players that it's going to be all our audience. So okay, we have the Clash Royale scene that it's one of our objectives, and but it's not only that. When we see a feature mobile spots for us, so there's a lot of points in franchising system. It is one of them.
Yeah, I'd love to actually add on to that as well, because I think this is one thing that mobile esports is kind of actively still figuring out, and maybe the esports industry as a whole. But we do obviously have some leagues like Clash Royale League, like Vainglory, that were, for all intents and purposes, franchised with tier 1 orgs, very stable slots. But then we also have the complete opposite, right? Where you have an esport like Brawl Stars, which is just a completely open circuit of tournaments where you accrue points each month for the global leaderboard. And then you have some that are kind of like a hybrid, right? Like Free Fire, where there is, Series A, but then you also have B and C, and there's a relegation system. So we really do have things that are all across the board. I'm personally really interested to track how that impacts the game as a whole in the competitive scene, because one thing that mobile is especially primed to do well is to engage the overall player base, right? And so it is important to be able to have something as a pathway for the average person to be able to participate in esports. Clash Royale and Supercell has this saying, esports for everyone. That's a huge mantra that they keep pushing. And so obviously they've partnered recently with No Tilt as a third-party, organizer to be able to engage the broader player base. So that's one strategy. You can have a franchise system and still engage them through third-party or community events, or you can tie it in to the official sanctioned league, right? So there's so many different structures. I think, obviously what is right for each game depends on the game itself and the community, the player base. So there's no cookie cut answer. But that just speaks also to the nuances that mobile especially is going through right now. And it's going to be, definitely a learning process for a lot of these games. I think we've seen really good communication as well between publishers. That's something I noticed, especially at Supercell, where they have 3 really established esports scenes running with Clash Royale, Clash of Clans, and Brawl Stars. So lots of communication going all across the board, and something that I'm personally really eager to track over time.
And regarding the future of mobile esports, I worked at Apple for a good 4 years, so I have a good understanding of their future and their silicone custom chipset. And what I see for mobile, right, the next decade, the next 5 years especially, is going to be the smartphone penetration rates and how smartphone user growth is going to drive the next billion users, right? So mobile esports will continue to grow all across the world and make record revenue. I wouldn't be surprised in 5 years if mobile gaming is literally double PC and console put together in terms of revenue. It's going to be 25% more this year. But what's important is the smartphone chipset, right? Apple has recently announced that they're taking their smartphone system on a chip technology and putting that into their MacBooks, right? That's huge, right? It's less power, but more power, but also more power efficient. So what that's going to do is going to drive a whole new generation of wearable devices that are mobile, right? So that is literally the far future of mobile esports. Is you look at console gaming, right? What happened with console gaming and how it became big and it grew out. PC gaming was bigger than console gaming at one point. And then in around the 1990s, late 1990s, they took a custom PC chip and then optimized it for console, and then they made and created an entire console generation, an entire console gaming market, right? That's the PlayStation, the Xbox, and so on. That's what we got with Nintendo 64. You guys remember that, right? The first 3D and all that. That's what drove the growth of an entire new market. So mobile, the smart chip, right? The system on chip, the processors on smartphones are going to become so powerful, so power efficient. They're going to drive a whole new generation of wearable AR, VR devices, right? I already met with a CEO in China that runs one of the top VR, Counter-Strike Go VR games. And China has grown from 700 VR centers to now over 3,500 VR centers in China, right? They're ahead of the game, and they have VR arenas already and all of that. And that is going to drive, that mobility is going to drive the future of esports, because we want to go away from mouse and keyboard, and we want to be more kind of spatial in terms of human like movement, right? We don't want to be confined to a mouse and keyboard. We want to be like more natural in terms of how we move and how we shoot. And VR is going to do that. And that is like the long, like term vision of where mobile esports will really go is the mobile wearables. And that's the one thing that I'm super, super excited. Like new battery tech, right? All this stuff is going to come and it's going to set and create an entirely new industry that we're going to be, you know, living in the next generation.
Wow. Anyone want to add to maybe tech that you would like to see or innovations in mobile that are either happening now or that you know about in the future?
I just wanted to come back to the franchise or the kind of leagues. That is that I think all the models are could be good. Okay, so and in the traditional esports, you can see the NBA in the United States. It's a franchise model. You can see the football in Europe that is an open league with some divisions, and all the leagues are very good. In the esports scene, you can see that Riot with League of Legends, it's a franchise. Is that the trend is to go to a franchise scene, and Valve with Counter Strike, it's a more open scene. So and both games are tier 1. So and the competitive scene is very mature in both games. But you need to have anything, and this is why I'm saying that Clash Royale with the Clash Royale League, with the Notil, with many almost in the Spanish speaker market, we had since many years ago many leagues. So this is why you create this competitive scene. And for organizations, professional organizations, you want to play with other professional organizations, not with mixes or clans or something like that. You want to play versus Complexity versus Team Liquid versus this kind of organizations, and this, in my opinion, why Clash Royale has a very competitive scene, very mature, and not Brawl Stars or Clash of Clans. And this is, I hope this is something that Supercell has to understand on the other publishers as well.
I love that you bring up the tier 1 organizations. I actually have a question about that specifically. With more tier 1 organizations entering into the mobile esports realm from all over the world, do you feel like that will benefit or hurt the mobile centric orgs that have started just basically on mobile, and how will that impact the future of mobile esports as well?
From my point of view, tier 1 organizations always are supporting the scene. So always, it's a good point.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really easy. I think the same as Diego. You need to support that, and that's easy to understand.
Yeah, I'll tack onto that as well. Just in my personal experience, I've seen a lot of tier 1 organizations do a great job. Obviously, they have a lot of resources and staff behind them to push out a ton of content. It's really professional. But also, it really depends on how valued that game is within the organization. So it can obviously vary from organization to organization. So just because they're considered tier 1 does not mean they're going to come in and necessarily just crush it out of the gates, right? Endemic organizations, one of the best things about working with them are that they really get the scenes and they can connect with the community at a really real level, and that can't be faked. So there's tremendous value with endemic organizations. And then the other thing to point out on your question of whether or not it's like a risk or something for an endemic org, if you look at some of these organizations that have just skyrocketed, like Loud as an example, they did that from scratch. So it's definitely not a necessity to be a tier 1 organization to really be at the forefront of an esports scene. But we are definitely, as Diego mentioned, seeing a lot more tier 1 organizations getting involved.
Yeah, and I worked with TSM on their entry on PUBG Mobile with India, and I think the most important thing is like we did a lot of like research and looking at the content side. I think it's not about franchise. Honestly, like franchise leagues don't do much for esports. It does help, of course, build a sustainable structure and all that. But what's more important than franchise? I'm not saying franchise is not important. What's more important is the foundation, the engagement, the viewership, the organic growth and traction of the game when it comes to just viewership on YouTube, on platforms like that. Like you need to have the game have strong revenue, strong daily active users, strong viewership. And then what like CSGO was a game that was popular for a while. And then we have these leagues kind of grow naturally from that, right? We didn't have like a franchise off the bat. Like that's not the way to do it. You need to make sure that your product is sustainable and it's a growing user and has a strong, engaged community. Like Free Fire is a great example. It didn't blow up with esports right away. It like grew within a population, got super popular, got socially viral, and it generated a lot of revenue, a lot of daily active users. And then the content blew up first. It wasn't the esports. The content for the game blew up, and then the esports then grew up on top of it. So I think that fundamental layer is really, really important to understand. So like a lot of Western organizations have rushed in a little too early, I think, to mobile esports before some of that content was able to see the same results that we see with Brazil and Free Fire. I think that's a very good case of what Loud has done. They did grow from Free Fire with esports, but look at their content, right? It's a lifestyle. They're a lifestyle brand. And I think that's really important to understand when it comes to gaming and social, is esports is a function of that lifestyle and that social phenomenon. Esports is not just competitive, right? It's about like the lives that these players have and the social aspects of like why they go viral and why their content like explodes. And I think that's why Loud is such a sustainable and successful organization that has the first organization to reach like 1 billion views in like under 6 months or something crazy like that. And that's a good example. They were not just focused overly on esports, right? They were focused on building this lifestyle, social brand and image.
Yeah, and you create more touch points with your audience. It's not only at the championships. The audience would like to know more about the idols. So I think that's it, man. The lifestyle stuff.
Anyone else want to close?
Yeah, this is what happened with Face Clan or Team Heretics in Europe or in Nine Zeta in Argentina or something like that. I mean, it's a mix of content creators and esports organizations. So it's a model that it's compatible with other ones. And in the same way, the franchise model is compatible with traditional leagues. You have mentioned the Counter-Strike. In Counter-Strike, you have the Flashpoint, for instance. It's more or less a franchise, and you have other leagues more open. So I think that actually at the end it's compatible to make many leagues with many different models, and as an organization you can choose where to play or where to compete.
Yeah, and exactly what Diego's talking about. I think it's pretty clear that there are lots of models for an esports scene that can work. What I think is going to be very important going forward is that the publishers themselves have the wisdom and the empathy, I guess, for the other companies in the ecosystem for their esport to make sure that they can all be sustainable. Because at the end of the day, everybody has to benefit and be financially sustainable in order to continue operations and continue investing. And so it's just so important that the esport is set up in a way that encourages organizations to be able to invest more in the game. And that can be through content and lifestyle. It could be through competition, but there need to be pathways set up that only the publisher sometimes can do in order to enable for them to invest. And so that really, I think, is kind of the biggest key.
Yeah, I completely agree with all of your guys' perspectives, and it's interesting to get the views from the different parts of the world there. So we actually are running out of time, guys. I'm really sorry. I know the viewers would love to keep getting more. Let's actually just final closing thoughts, like give one thought that you think would be the most impactful from each of you to the audience listening right now, and it could be any aspect of mobile esports. And I want to start with Matt on this, actually.
I'd love to kick this off. I always like to bring it back to the player's perspective and just like the average person's perspective, because that's where a lot of impact can be done. So my final thought, if I had to pick one, is that I hope that you as a viewer see that this is an industry that is just growing and is creating more and more opportunities at a rate that is rarely seen. So if this is an industry that you're really passionate about, please consider going into it full time. There are so many opportunities for you to get in at the ground level in an entry position and just kind of volunteer. Go work for a tournament organizer or a community event and just get a little bit of experience. What you're going to find in this industry is that experience in one area can very often cross over to something completely unrelated, because there's so much overlap. And you could be working on a sponsorship with an organization and then land yourself a position at a company that handles the content and the sponsorships in esports. So there's so much overlap. The most important thing, though, is just to get started. I also just want to plug the Mobile Esports Career Expo Discord server, because again, this is just completely open for you to tap into. and to connect with people. Again, we have 50 plus partners. This was a phenomenal expo, so I do hope that we're going to come back for another one. And that's a great place as well to keep in contact for future events.
Amazing. Diego, final thoughts.
Yeah, I would say that mobile games is the future, but we have to learn about how the PC publishers have made the path in, for instance, Riot or Valve with Counter-Strike and League of Legends, in order to copy the best practices to make a sustainable competitive scene. I think that is very important for mobile publishers and so on, just to copy this best practices, to copy the path, and to consolidate this competitive scene.
Amazing. And Joao?
Hey, first of all, thanks again for having me on. And what I would like to say is something that I said with Legacy in a podcast that we've recorded some weeks ago, that if you would like to work with mobile sports, or if you work with mobile sports, being a gamer and love it, it's not enough anymore. You have to have the passion, but you need to study a lot. You have to understand how a project that you do is really sustainable. You have to look everything with a really professional way, and you have to really great people and good content. And of course, if you are here watching us, this is one of these opportunities. So that's my final message for here. If you would like to work with mobile sports, there's a lot of things, because the marketing is growing a lot, and we need good people here. So let's go.
And then Sujay, final thoughts to close out the
Yeah, I love what Matt said. Invest in it, contribute to it, help it grow. The one thing I mentioned earlier is the riches are in the niches. Everything starts as a niche. Everyone disbelieves you. Everyone tries to say you're not a real gamer or whatever, and all of a sudden it goes mainstream. And the time is going to be this couple of years for mobile gaming for sure. And the riches are in the niches. Once this goes mainstream, a lot of career opportunities will grow out of it. So there are already career opportunities now, not necessarily mobile esports, but in the mobile game companies. They're hiring a lot of people. They're growing super fast, right? The mobile gaming is setting gangbuster records all around the world because of COVID, right? Like mobile esports viewership went up 100% in China, right? 60% year-over-year revenue growth, while PC was negative 15%. So this is the trend now, and go ahead and work for these great companies. Like I remember going back to Arena of Valor when Tencent hired the esports team for North America and then the West to like help grow that side of it. It wasn't as much of a success that I would like it to be, of course, but there's still going to be growth because the game is doing well across other places outside the West, but it's only a matter of patience and time. So you're in a niche. A lot of people don't believe in your industry. That's fine. You believe in it. You love it. You listen to your heart, listen to your passion, continue to contribute where you can, find these great opportunities with these amazing orgs. Some of these panelists run awesome orgs that you could like work with or like partner with, and all these game developers that are working their butts off to like help make mobile gaming successful in the West. Work with them, and eventually the esports will take off, and you're going to reap the rewards along with all of the people that helped you along the way.
Yeah, beautiful thoughts from everyone, and I can't really say thank you enough to all of you guys from every panel for taking your time to give advice to everybody watching. Everything's been so valuable, and I know they're going to get so much value out of watching the VODs here and rewatching them over and over and over and over. So thank you guys again for being on and being the closing panel. So this is the last memory of this is what is going to be with you guys. So thank you so much.
Until the next event, yes.
Until the next event.
Awesome. So we're going to keep this party going, though. We have a career fair coming up next. So Legacy, do you want to maybe hop into the other call and we can
absolutely
share some info there?
See you guys.
Awesome.
See you guys. Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I can't believe this is coming to an end, Matt. Like
it's been such an amazing event.
And it's not over yet. That's the crazy part.
Right.
It is not over. You're still providing opportunities for people. You want to talk about the career fair for everybody?
I would love to. So this was one of the first things that we thought of as we were brainstorming what we wanted to do for the Expo, which is to do some sort of structured job fair of sorts. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to set up a track of sessions in our Discord server. There's 6 sessions total, I believe. Each one is going to have multiple companies in it. And during that time slot, they're going to be presenting about 25 minutes worth of an activity for you as an attendee of this career fair. So each company is going to have a different activity. We're leaving it up to them to create it as they want. So some are going to be doing, interviews for open positions. Some are going to be demoing a product they've just released that could help a lot of people. And some are just going to do meet and greets. But regardless, it's going to be a great time for you to kind of hop in, get personally connected with and interacting with some companies that are looking to, continue to grow mobile esports. So really excited for us to be able to set this up. And that's all taking place in our Discord server. So if you're not in there, make sure that you click the link in the description of YouTube here, and then also on Theta. And then if you're also still looking out for where to find us, we're on Twitter at Mobile Esports CE for the Mobile Esports Career Expo, and all our information is there as well. But we have an awesome lineup of companies right now for the career fair portion, Legacy.
Yes, we do. Actually, I mean, there's a lot of partners and a lot of people lined up for it. So probably too many to mention in a breath.
So again, like I said, we did have about 50 plus partners. That includes all the representatives and panelists and stuff that have been part of this. So we have about, I think, 2 or 3 or so in each of the career fair sections. So it'll be nice and focused for everybody that's going to be participating. But yes, make sure you join us on Discord to make sure to stay up to date on where you can connect with these people. So, but listen, Legacy, before we close this stream, at least, I got to give you a massive shout out for the huge weight that you pulled with this series, dude. I mean, we pulled you in a week or 2 ago, I think it was, to be able to, be our moderator and stuff. And it ended up also working out for you to be able to spearhead some of the, tech production side and transitions and stuff. And you just absolutely crushed it. Thank you so much for all the work that you put into this to formulate questions for each of the panelists, and the content that we were able to, create through this, and just the insights that were shared from each of the panels was just so incredibly valuable. So thank you for helping make that possible, dude.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. I'm literally an example of probably all the advice taken throughout all the panels. I've followed that throughout my career in this to get to where I am now. So that's why it's proof that what the panels say worked. I promise you guys, really take advantage of this knowledge, because it's stuff that I wish I would have gotten when I first entered the industry. I'm sure the stuff that Matt wished he would have gotten, because we've all been in the industry for a while, and you learn a lot along the way. So share your wisdom, guys.
And honestly, that's one of the reasons why I was really eager to do something like this, right? Is that I wish I had this when I started out. I was, completely on my own trying to figure out this industry and stuff. And thankfully, I mean, those of us that have kind of been around in the scene for a few years have some insights, even just simple stuff that we can pass on and help, educate people and just kind of help them absorb some knowledge about how this industry works and how it operates. And stuff like that just goes a long way. Especially as you're kind of starting your career path in the mobile esports industry. So what an amazing event. I mean, I'm just thinking back to yesterday. It seems like forever ago, but we were able to really outline all the career paths that are available in the industry, provide specific tips for how to get hired into these roles. So how you ought to be reaching out to people, how you should structure your resume. We talked about specific advice for different positions, like being a pro player, being a team manager, or even being a content creator. Had a phenomenal panel there. Also talked about how games can fluctuate sometimes, and if you're looking to jump into a new game, what some of those signs might be, or if there's a new hot game that's about to be released, as we're in right now, right, with Wild Rift on the near future here. What can you do right now to take advantage of that? So that was a panel as well. And then today's panels, I mean, I didn't know that it could get better than yesterday, but somehow it was just as good. So we ended up having great panels as well. One on sponsorships and partnerships, which you've got to watch if you missed that one earlier today. Had a great panel on event production just prior to the previous one, and then able to finish with the future of mobile esports.
Finished really strong, by the way.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's just so much. I think you kind of got the sense that, those of us that were on that panel could have talked for ages. We're just all so excited and have a lot of, knowledge and stats and stuff that could be shared. So definitely hope that we get to do this one more time so we can kind of keep expanding and growing this industry.
Absolutely. Again, thank you to AMG for helping putting on this event. Make sure you guys join the Discord, because you guys will be doing the career fair right now. Should be starting soon. I have nothing else. I'm excited to actually go back because I was in the moment, so I wasn't taking notes and I was running the production. I'm excited to go back and watch and finally take some notes. So again, thank you so much.
And this will all be available on actually AMG's YouTube. So if you're watching it live on YouTube, it's right here on this channel. Otherwise, just search for Aftershock Media Group. You'll be able to find our channel. Make sure you subscribe to that because we should be putting out some more great content along these lines as well. But what an amazing event, man.
Thank you guys. I guess we'll see you in the Discord.
Awesome. All right, we'll keep the party going in the Discord. We'll see everybody there.
Thanks, guys.